Welcome to episode number 71 of Geeks Who Like Sports. As always, I'm Ray Carcillo in beautiful Los Angeles, California. To my best friend in the entire world over in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Lee Elias. Lee, how are you doing today over in Philly?
Ray, episode LXXI. I've decided to take a Super Bowl approach moving forward. I just think it sounds better. Not doesn't really. LXXI. Get the merchandise now. Nowhere.
Lixie?
LXXI. You have to just say it like the Super Bowl. Yeah, LXXI. If 3 X's would be Lixie. Okay, but we're not going to go there.
Gotcha.
Ray, it's a beautiful day here right now. It was raining earlier. But look, we're getting towards September, which would typically mean we're getting towards NHL training camp, but we're in the middle of the NHL playoffs right now. It makes me very happy. The sports and geek gods have blessed us with nothing but fantastic content for this show today. So as always, we're going to start off by thanking anyone new and anybody returning for listening. Thank you so much for your support of Geeks Who Like Sports #1. And we're going to jump right into this one today because there's so much to talk about. This is going to be one of those episodes that's just packed full of goodness and unwrapping them together to discover the hidden joys of sport geekdom or geek sportdom, depending on who you are and where you are. Ray?
Yes.
Great.
Yeah, fantastic. Glad to hear it, buddy. We have a huge show, like Lee mentioned, folks. We've got NHL playoffs, NBA playoffs. We have This Week and How Baseball Messed Everything Up Again. We have WWE Thunderdome. We have Battletoads. We've got High Scores. Thunderdome. But first off, before we get to Thunderdome, we're going to FanDome. Of course, yesterday, as we're recording this on August the 23rd, August 22nd, was DC's big old DC FanDome event. It wasn't really 24 hours straight of programming like they had promised. It was a very solid, like, 10-hour, 12-hour block.
It was like 12, and then they repeated it. So,
right,
I mean,
yeah, exactly.
They had 24 hours of programming on different channels.
Right.
But, it was really like a 12-hour type show.
Yeah, it was more of a 12-hour thing, so again, DC fooled us again. What else is new? But Lee, let me get your overall, before we get into the specific stories, because it did bring a lot of news to us. Some stuff we knew, so it went more details, and of course some big announcements. But what was your overall impression of FanDome?
FanDome! Well, let's jump right into it, okay? This is how I described it. I wouldn't say they hit the bullseye with FanDome, but they hit the target, if that's fair to say. Keeping in mind, prior, they were shooting the arrows in the opposite direction of the target, so that's stepping up. If you need a visual metaphor for those of you watching at home, I come with props every day. This was DC prior to FanDome. It's a picture of all the superheroes, the Flash, Superman, Batman, and Aquaman. They're just very lost and old. Again, if you're listening to this, it's a beautiful picture. I'll take a picture of this later and I'll put it up on the Facebook page. This was DC prior to FanDome. Now, Ray, I don't have much DC merchandise, and I forgot to ask you to grab something, but I
got my bat mug. I'm good.
See, that's a sharp mug. I mean, it's not a bullseye, but it's something, right?
Yeah.
So that's my point. They went from something bad to something good. So here's the overall synopsis of it without getting into the details, which we will do, okay, because there's a lot to uncover within FanDome. Some panels were much better than others, but what I saw for the first time was an organized approach with a clear vision forward that wrapped everything, not just some things, all of it together in one unified package to move forward, which is something that they desperately needed to do. Now, like most things, I understand now why they didn't do this at Comic-Con, because they could control the content here, and they did have enough to kind of unveil on their own.
Right.
And like I said, we're going to get into it in a minute. There's some things that they have done now to position the DC overall universe in a better place. But yeah, look, the good panels were the ones that either broke the fourth wall, like Will Arnett broke the fourth wall as he always does, and jokes about how, like, oh, these aren't scripted, but that's Will Arnett. It's really fun to watch him. Obviously, also Lego Batman.
Yes.
The panels that were like recorded through Zoom were really good. All right, so if they had a bunch of the actors on together, kind of conversing with each other, it came across very organic. Even if they were kind of lame in what they were talking about, it came across well. And then of course you had kind of the scripted hosts, which are always really lame. This is what went wrong with DC Daily, right?
Yes.
It was overly scripted. It wasn't organic enough, and it's really hard to watch that stuff for me sometimes. Because it's just too campy for me. It's way too high. Welcome to DC FanDome today. I don't want to see that. I want to talk to me.
Yeah.
Talk to me. I'm the fan. And they kept regurgitating, it's all about you, the fans. I'm like, and they did a good job with that. But it's like, man, just make it a little more organic, even if it is pre-recorded. And then there were things too, like when they got to the Zack Snyder Justice League. it was completely produced and was put together. You can tell they were not in the same place at the same time.
Yeah.
It was a great panel because of what we got out of it, which, again, we'll talk about. But it was just too – I mean, this is Hollywood. How are you overproducing content like this?
Yeah.
I never understood it. And then there's the other thing, too, which I want to say. This is kind of for all panels. Some people were very put together. Gal Gadot looked, put together, like professional looking. And, some of them didn't, like what's his name? Pattinson comes on looking like he hasn't shaved or cut his hair in 6 months because he probably hasn't. Yeah. And, Ezra's on there in a completely
and to be fair to
weird
Pattinson,
outfit.
though, they're still shooting the Batman, so it also could be because of that. So
No, I don't know. I don't This one didn't strike me. I mean, he looked like that dude like from Scooby-Doo that has the caveman with all the hair flowing over himself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All right. And then, Ezra Miller was there just like himself, if you know what I mean by that. He never dresses standard.
He's an interesting cat.
Yeah, but I saw Peter Capaldi. It was good.
Yeah.
So overall, just rounding it out, I'd give it a strong B+. All right, it did what it needed to do. Was not perfect, but they hit the target, and I'm very excited to transition here because they really did set some groundwork for something that I think could potentially put them in the right place moving forward. A place they have been lost and they've had no direction. I felt like there was direction after this event.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I felt it was a good show overall. You watched most of it. I watched a little bit. I watched most of the end and then most of the video game stuff, which was the stuff I was more interested in. Yeah. So I would think it's probably more like a B to me. I mean, yes, there were definitely some of those canned moments that just was kind of like, ugh. And Matt Reeves, as much as I appreciate what he's trying to do with Batman, talked for way too long until we got to that trailer. It was. Look, he's a very interesting.
We'll talk about it.
Yeah, there was a lot.
I understand why he did that.
I get it.
He did that.
Well, I get it because there's a lot of criticism. There's a lot riding on this project. I understand, but for a lot of fans, that was a long time to listen to a dude talk about this particular project, and so
it was just like he was Charlie Chaplin in a silent film.
Yeah, exactly. That he was kind of that in between of professional and casual.
What are we doing here?
Yeah. So
I was expecting the FanDome to fall on top of him, and there'd be a little hole inside one of the things, and he'd stand there like,
very good, Buster Keaton-esque. Yeah, exactly. But obviously, Aisha Taylor hosted that segment. She's obviously phenomenal as well. Aisha Tyler.
She was good. Yes.
Yeah, she's always terrific. She's another legit geek, so we always appreciate seeing her whenever she's around. It was. I think it's overall a B. But like you said, Lee, they laid the groundwork for some stuff. You mentioned Ezra Miller. One of the big things to come out of not only FanDome, but even leading up to FanDome the day before was it broke that Michael Keaton, Ben Affleck, Jeffrey Dean Morgan, they're all coming back for what'll end up being what will end up being a Flashpoint movie, where it's a Flash movie that will explain the multiverse and kind of what DC's doing with that. And I'm thrilled to see Michael Keaton Batman back as an older Batman. And I know a lot of fans have been begging for Ben Affleck to come back because they don't feel he got a fair shake, and I think that's fair. Because again, I think he suffered from bad scripts more than he was. I don't think Ben Affleck did a bad job as Batman. I think he had bad scripts to work with. And I think that, so I think so. Yeah, Lee, talk about what are your thoughts on them doing, finally coming out and just saying it? Yes, we are doing a multiverse, even though we've done it a bit more haphazardly than say Marvel did.
Right. So what they did is they had a panel called Multiverse 101, which I'm not sure a ton of people watched in terms of like when you look at the other panels that were there.
Yeah.
And this panel was very unveiling to me in a lot of ways. So they started off with the Flash and how the Flash did Crisis on Infinite Earths. Mm-hmm. And there is a scene. This is a spoiler alert. If you haven't seen it, it's a minor spoiler alert. That when he is going through different dimensions, or you will, or different universes, Ezra Miller's Flash does show up in a scene and converse with the Flash from the CW.
Yes.
Okay, and this is the first time ever that the cinematic DC universe has merged with the television universe. But it was a big deal because it established that these two multiverses do exist somehow inside the same space. This panel went on to say, very, very clearly, by the way, Ray, that all of the properties exist in different universes. Now, I'm not saying that like, oh, we knew that already. I'm saying they're saying pretty concrete, like, no. Yeah. These are all canon. They are all different universes. And there was even a montage of them showing, like, Doom Patrol in their universe, Suicide Squad in their universe. And it said the different Earth numbers they were from. Okay, so for those of you who don't know about the multiverse, there's infinite numbers of Earths, okay? Mm-hmm. And there's Earth Prime, and then there's 100. So they have limitless control. And what it sounded like from this panel was they're really going to embrace this multiverse concept, something that I think Marvel is going to do as well. Okay,
Yes.
but they're really going to embrace it, and they kind of said it like this: like, look, if you like Keaton Batman or Affleck Batman or Jared Leto Joker, whatever, you can like that, and you can like another Batman and another Joker.
Yeah.
Now, many people will say this is cheating, and here's the deal: it's always been cheating. It was cheating when they did it in the comics.
Yep.
But it is the right way forward. Okay, because what it allows them to do is two things. It allows them to continue down any pathway that they deem is valuable, and it also allows them to jump away from any pathway that they deem as invaluable, okay?
Yeah.
Now, keeping in mind that as of right now, there is Affleck Batman, Pattinson Batman, Lego Batman, right? These are all existing at the same time period, right?
Yep.
Not to mention other things. So going to where you're going with Flashpoint, they're saying that that film is also going to round out this concept of the multiverse. And again, this is why I'm saying it's the first time I've seen DC have this kind of unified trajectory towards, okay, all of this is happening all of the time. Now, this is what I'm going to say about it, Ray, and I want you to get your thoughts on this too. If they can embrace this correctly, it can work, because this is one of the bigger storylines, one of the bigger defining things of DC Comics is that multiverse, okay?
Yes.
They've, in my opinion, have always embraced that more than Marvel. Way more. Okay.
Well, DC was the originators, and I'll get into the history in a minute. But yeah.
Well, I'm saying you look at Crisis on Infinite Earths and Infinite Crisis. I mean, this is always, whenever they've done anything gigantic, it's revolved around that concept. Okay. And here's the other thing too. Even the Arkhamverse and the video game universes are seeming to fit into this now.
Yes.
Which is really brilliant, because it gives you something tangible to hold on to, and not us saying, like, where are you guys going with this? Why are you doing this? It also allows them to look at Joker. Which I still don't think they should make a sequel, but they will. All right, but Joaquin Phoenix's Joker, and now that's another universe. So it does just creatively free up them to do it a little bit. But I'm going to say this again: it's the first time I've seen DC unified towards a common cause in a long, long time.
Yes.
With that said, it is promising. It is not anywhere near where it needs to be yet. I am still highly critical of DC, but I am happy to see them take a step forward where we're not rolling our eyes again thinking, what are you doing?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think this is something that I've been criticizing DC for the past couple of years after working there, was that it felt like a rudderless ship.
Hot mess.
And yeah, exactly. And that it feels like that maybe, I don't know if some of the moves they've made recently have helped with this, or AT&T's, I mean, I'm sure for sure, but AT&T...
Yeah, again, HBO is probably like, get your stuff together now.
No, exactly. And I think that's...
We're not having another Game of Thrones here.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think that this is the thing. This is where finally people are realizing that, yes, this was there were too many cooks in the kitchen. There was too much going on, and they're finally starting to fall in line a little bit with TV and movies and the comic books and all this other stuff. And it's been a necessary move that really, I mean, has been needed for probably the past decade.
Can you imagine being in that HBO room where they're like, well, what do we do when we kill off a superhero? Oh, you just bring him back to life. We can do that? Oh, yeah, we do that all the time in DC.
Yes.
How? We killed Superman and brought him back. So you're saying we can kill someone and bring them back?
Yes.
Yes, like we did in Game of Thrones. No. No, not like that at all. Not like that at all.
Yeah.
So what happens when we kill them? They just come back. Whenever you feel like it.
Yes.
Right? What if we don't like a character? You kill them.
Then sometimes you have the fans vote on it, and we'll kill them. It's like,
But no, it's great. Yeah, I think I'm sure HBO and DC both. We said this on the last episode. They both desperately need this to work.
Yeah.
Okay. So again, let's keep going, because there's so many things that came out yesterday. I'm so excited to talk about them, and I'm so excited
we got a lot to go on. There's a lot of games, a lot of movies. I mean, we could go all over. I almost want to go in for me, order of importance to from least order of importance to most order of importance for me. So stuff towards the bottom was like Wonder Woman 84. Not that it's bad or not that it's not important, but what we saw with the trailer was a lot of stuff that we were already expecting.
Yes.
We knew this is coming. Not a lot of new info about that, but we did see Kristen Wiig in full cheetah form for the first time, which was awesome. You kind of get a more hint of an idea of how she maybe starts to go down that path. And it looked good. It looked great. You saw her Cheetah versus Wonder Woman in her gold armor. It looked really good. It's another good trailer, but we're also kind of at the point now where this movie's been delayed so much because of a variety of reasons. Just give us the movie. just released the movie.
The word I would use is expectedly underwhelming. And I don't mean that, as you said, as an insult. The trailer didn't, I mean, again, outside Cheetah, there's nothing new there. The first trailer was much better.
Yeah.
And again, we're just waiting. And again, they did what they need to do. Here's some more stuff. Here you go. Everybody's excited. Let's move on. That's exactly what that was. And as you said, that was the only big time panel that didn't really do much.
Yeah, exactly. That was the one that I think that kind of was just like, okay, all right, we got this. This is what this is what exactly you said. It's what you
and
expected.
It has nothing to do with the fact that it's Wonder Woman, by the way. I'm very excited for it.
No, we're both very excited to see that movie.
Yes.
It's just like at this point we're kind of just like, just put the movie out there.
Yeah.
Like,
she is the gold beacon right now of DC in the DCU until the Rock decides to crumble that. We'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah, well, I mean, and I think that's the thing too is that my one concern is that with a lot of these DC movies, is that they said, especially the ones that seem to be ready to go or very close to be ready to go, is that they're saying only in theaters, only in theaters, only in theaters.
And stop doing that.
We've talked about this before. Like, you should be willing to be a bit more flexible at this point because, especially again with something that's much like, hopefully, Disney's doing it with Mulan, and hopefully that'll lead to Black Widow and a few other movies that coming to Disney Plus. I hope that Warner Brothers kind of gets the same idea that Wonder Woman's been done for a while.
Right.
Like, let's put it out there, maybe.
Here's the deal. I bet you both AT&T and DC are looking at this like this. Okay, Marvel's got their own streaming platform, and the world is on it.
Yeah.
So Marvel can afford to put their stuff out on Disney Plus, and they know it. DC does not have that yet, and there's no guarantee that everyone's jumping on HBO Max.
HBO Max's numbers have not been released yet, but we imagine they're less.
They're not there yet, okay? Because HBO, to be fair, HBO doesn't have that hit yet. They don't have that hit yet. They're hoping it's going to be Justice League, okay? I mean, Disney Plus had hits immediately. Yeah. So what I'm thinking is they're banking on, look, Marvel, if they make this move with Black Widow, which I think they're going to do, I've been hearing rumblings that they're setting it up for that, but they're not doing it yet.
Yeah. I think Mulan is the test run. If Mulan does well, then I think you're going to see that kind of go forward. But we're getting a little into the weeds with that.
All I was going to say is that I think DC sees it opening in theaters now, and that's why they're kind of pushing for that. Okay?
Right.
That's all I'm saying. They want to get that opening because they can always put it on TV. No one's going to argue about it.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah. But we'll see what happens there. You mentioned the Justice League Snyder Cut. Honestly, there's so much going on with DC after Wonder Woman that was kind of like new info and a lot of exciting stuff. We saw the Snyder Cut new trailer with tons of new footage. It's also been released that it's going to be 4 60-minute episodes, which is amazing. I mean, obviously that's like a director's cut right there, 4 hours, but like
2 movies.
Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of a true epic there. But breaking it up into 4 60-minute episodes, I think will do it good. And I think that the fact that there is that much leftover footage just shows how much was cut from the original Justice League movie. And now even I'm really excited to see Snyder Cut because I'm like, oh man, like if he had that much stuff cut, this is going to be a completely different film. This is a completely different experience.
Well, just the math alone of being 4 hours. That means there's a minimum. There's twice as much movie that we haven't seen at minimum, and it's going to be a lot more than that. When I was watching the trailer, which was brilliantly done, I remember thinking right after, like, man, how much did Joss Whedon cut? And I got to say this. I've got no problem with Joss Whedon, okay? Like, I think he came in late. He did what he had to do, right? So the theatrical release of it, I mean, they had very little time. They had to do something. They put it together, threw it out there. It was a hot mess, as it always is, right? It was underwhelming. But, man, they cut a lot. And like, I'm starting to understand now why people really wanted this thing released because it looks like a comic book, all right? We got our first glance at Darkseid, all right, we saw Steppenwolf looking how he's supposed to look. Yep. All right, Superman in his black costume, much more Flash footage, okay? It looks like Flash is going to play a much larger role in this. Cyborg. So, again, if you haven't seen it, make sure you check out the trailer. It's definitely worth watching. It's going to be tough not to want to see this. But here's the thing. This is what I will say. And we're talking about DC here. When we talk about Marvel, we don't say this. The bar is now set extremely high. So the bar has been set to a point, Ray, and you just said this, that it's almost like a new movie. Now, here's the thing. It's not. Okay? Right. And there's going to be scenes in this that we've seen already.
Yes.
And I think people are forgetting that. This is not a new movie as much
Yeah.
as it is an updated movie, right? So
Yeah.
the bar is extremely now high, and I would go as far to say that really the launch of HBO Max succeeding is going to be hindered on this.
Yes.
But with that said, Zack Snyder is someone we can trust, is somebody who's done incredible work, someone who
Yes.
stays extremely true to canon and to comic books.
Yeah,
So
he tries to,
I'm hoping that, I'm wishing this the best. I really mean
Yeah.
this. I want this to do well.
No, for sure. I mean, and the thing is also like this. Again, we've talked about this also before in the show with the Richard Donner, Richard Lester thing with Superman 2. Is that for Richard Lester to get a director's credit on Superman 2 along with Richard Donner, he had to shoot or reshoot a certain amount of footage for him to get a proper credit and to be recognized by the Directors Guild. I'm sure the same exact thing happened with Joss Whedon, where he had to probably do. I mean, we say 70%, but it's at least 30 for sure of new stuff that Whedon had to do and piece together. And you take out a third of a movie, and you put in a brand new third that completely can change the movie. It's a whole act.
And the universe. So, this is the thing. What else is riding on this is Ben Affleck's career as Batman, if he wants it back, which means we're going to have parallel Batmans at the same time. There's just a lot going on here. And I, as you said at the top of the show, I mean, Affleck, I don't think Affleck's a bad Batman. I hear people criticize him all the time, and I don't know why. I think he's a perfect older Bruce Wayne, and he's a really good Batman who had an okay script. I didn't think he did a bad job. So I hope that this kind of, reinvents his character a bit for us. And I'm looking forward to it. Again, all that entire cinematic universe, because I think it's salvageable at this point. We'll see what happens.
We will see what happens. It'll be very interesting to see what happens because we were ready to call it done and say pull the plug, and now
we really were.
Now with the multiverse and now with all this other stuff, we're almost ready to be like, let's see what happens. Like you said,
we were just talking a lot too long about like Cavill not being Superman.
Yeah,
now he's Superman.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I mean, it's credit to DC. It took them. They looks like they've started to clean up this ship pretty quickly. So
Cavill did Witcher, and then DC's like, oh, he's really good at talking in a dark voice and doing kind of the superhero thing. Maybe we should hold on because he's got a hit. He's got a hit now with the Witchers. Now they want him back. Politics of Hollywood.
Oh God, don't get me started. Anyway, other movies, other things I loved. By the way, that they brought back Sinbad for this panel.
Yes.
As a joke for him as a different Shazam. Shazam: Fury of the Gods. Shazam 2. They had a panel for that. We knew that was coming. Which is great. Obviously, Zachary Levi returns as Shazam. Lee, tell us a little bit about the Shazam 2 and what they're doing with that, because I thought the first Shazam was okay. It wasn't my favorite movie, but then again, like, Shazam is like the 9th best superhero in DC's lineup, so it's kind of like, all right, whatever. He's a kid who gets superpowers. Cool,
You mean kids Superman? You mean
exactly? Yeah.
So that was more of one of the fun panels, just because Levi was in it. They didn't release much outside the title. That's kind of all they did. So, I mean, I don't know where they're going to go with that. I don't know how much of it's going to have to do with Black Adam in the future, if there's going to be any tie-in there. I know that there's a lot of talk about making Shazam merge with the Justice League in a joking way, kind of like how Deadpool does with the X-Men every once in a while. Mm-hmm. There's not much to report there other than the title is Shazam: Fury of the Gods.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's a lot they can do. Obviously, they set up a lot of stuff at the end of the first movie with Savannah and the psychic worm, like classic Shazam villains.
Yeah. I really liked Shazam as a film. I mean, I thought it was a good film at a time that DC needed it. Again, it's not anywhere near the best film they've ever made or anything like that, but it did its job. I'm excited for them to expand that, because that film has such a Guardians of the Galaxy feel to it, which is, it makes you feel good, and that's the feeling I get when I watch it. So I'm hoping that they can continue to do that, and I'd love to see him interact with some of the superheroes. I'd love for that to be like kind of a Deadpool thing. They kind of come and go as they're needed, because that's what Shazam kind of is.
Well, and that's the funny thing is that they hinted at that. Obviously, they couldn't get Cavill at the end of the first film. Spoiler alert, because of the disputes that was going on at the time. They have, like, you just see from the neck down, you have Superman come in and hang out with Shazam, which was funny and stuff. And it was just like you could have those moments with that movie, but. No, it's going to be interesting to see where they go with it. I mean, the first movie was very much shot for shot. Speaking of, going shot for shot from the comics and saying to the source material, the first few issues of the Jeff Johns run of Shazam, right? It was very much like if they even collected it into a special 6-issue graphic novel where it's like, if you want, before you go into Shazam, read these 6 issues. Here it is. They actually sold a lot of books because people wanted to know, and it basically they just recreated that on the screen. Yeah. And Mark Strong, of course, is also a great Savannah, fantastic actor there.
Excellent every time.
Yeah,
he's
all
on
the
film.
time. So whatever role he's in. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with movie number 2. But another classic villain, though, of Shazam is his counterpart is Black Adam.
Is he a villain, though?
Technically,
is he a villain, though?
Depending on your outlook, sometimes he's a bad guy, sometimes he's a good guy.
Is he an anti-hero? Yeah.
He's exactly. He's one of those guys who has his own motivations, and those motivations take precedent over your puny human concepts of good and evil.
Exactly.
And for him, it's protecting his people of the fictional nation of Kahndaq. And so, what's interesting is obviously The Rock basically did a small little teaser, came out, said that the hierarchy of DC, the DC power structure, is now going to be changed. And I get the sense that what they're going to do with this film, even though we didn't see anything really of it, is that they're going to have him start off being your prototypical good guy, right? Because he's very similar to Shazam. He uses the same word, or he did at one point. He gets the powers of 6 gods, but they're Egyptian gods, not the Greek gods like Shazam. And for him, he's a good guy, and then he loses everything, and he kind of becomes like an anti-hero because he gets to that stance where it's like, I have to use these powers to do anything to protect my people. I can't protect everyone, and he kind of gets that anti-hero stance. And if anybody can do a heel turn, it's The Rock.
Well, he's someone who's done that several times. So here's the thing I took away from that panel, that segment, which was really well done, is that they did give us a little bit of a comic book type mini film, in which it says right what you just said is, he was enslaved in Egypt 3,000 to 5,000 years ago, and then he wakes up kind of today, and he's got his own form of justice. And they did a good Q&A with The Rock, and give Rock the credit for really giving this about 20-25 minutes of his time to do it, because his time is very valuable. He doesn't do things unless he really wants to do them. And he really gave a 360 view of his approach to the character, and that he says he's a big fan of the character. He's read everything about the character, and that he's very he said that the Black Adam that he's bringing out of his heart is like the true Black Adam. And he goes, for those of you who read the comic, I think you know what I mean. Now, here's the deal. This is how I look at this, and this is why I'm actually very excited for this. The Rock does not do anything small, and The Rock does not play for second place.
Yep.
Okay? In fact, I remember when Avengers Endgame got the top-grossing film all time, he was even a little bit miffed with that. Like, hey, congratulations, but DC's better. Like, there's just no need to do that. Yeah. You know what I mean? But, like, he's coming in. Again, thing he said at the end, I love this. He kind of said to the fans, I need you to help me challenge the Flash, Aquaman, Wonder Woman, Cyborg, Batman, and Superman to let them know that the hierarchy in the DC universe is about to change. That's the last thing he said. And I believe him. He's not coming in there to be second place. He's coming in there to take over. Yeah. And I think that, he also said that this is going to be the biggest kind of DC movie you've probably ever seen. They're doing things that even are boggling his mind. He's got to say that. Yeah. But I like it. I like it because it's healthy competition. All right. I don't think he's coming in not to fight Superman. Right. I would not be surprised if he's going to become like a Thanos level type guy in this.
I don't know about that. Like, I would love for them at some point maybe to set up the Injustice League or the Legion of Doom and stuff like that.
Well, they did talk about that. So the JSLA, they talked a lot about JSLA. So like there was another actor whose name escapes me, but he's going to be playing Atom Smasher. All right. So there was a lot of talk about this Society, in the movie. Nice. Yeah. So what I'm saying is the JSLA, Justice Society of America, League of America.
JSA.
Sorry.
That's why you're. There's
Justice
JLA,
Society
which
of
is
America.
Justice League of America.
The Justice Society of Los Angeles is going to be there. Sorry, JSA, Justice Society of America is going to be there, which is not that it's not Marvel. People always mix those up. Yeah. But they're going to play a major role in the film, and I think it's going to kind of be almost about how. They want Black Adam, but he's not. Maybe he's working with them. Maybe he's working against them. That's the idea. We don't know. But this was one of the more intriguing panels to me. Not panels, again, things. I think The Rock did a really good job, and I think he's really throwing the gauntlet down of, like, I'm not coming here to play around. If we're going to return DC to its prominent form. Again, tall order for anyone, including the top-grossing film star in the world.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll see what happens.
He joked he never got it on Saturday Night Live, but it's true. He's franchise Viagra, right?
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
He turned G.I. Joe around, even though that ended after his movie. He turned around. Fast and Furious became relevant again when they added The Rock.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And now he's going to do the same thing, I think, with DC, where DC's going to be really relevant again, I think, no matter what they do with him. And I think that the fact that they're bringing in older characters like the JSA, which is... like Hourman and Atom Smasher and,
Atom Smasher's a cool character, by the way. For those of you who don't know, you should look him up. He's a lesser-known character.
Like, there's a lot of other great characters. Yeah. The original Green Lantern, Alan Scott, who did not get his powers from a Green Lantern power ring. His were different. They explain it. It's a long thing. He's technically a Green Lantern, but he's not the Green Lantern that we know and love from like Oa and stuff.
You're such a geek, Ray.
Yeah, no,
no, but you know the cool thing, just rounding out the thing about Black Adam, was that they did this kind of drawing of Black Adam with the Rock's obviously features, and it's that iconic shot of Black Adam sitting on his throne, kind of slouching, but it was the Rock this time, and I was like, this may work.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited about that one. Again, that was actually the least revealing panel. They didn't really show us anything.
Yeah.
But it was more fun to watch.
Yeah. Well, again, it's The Rock, right? And I think that's he's just that personality that just everybody gravitates to him. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So other big things. Speaking of former wrestlers. John Cena!
John Cena!
He's going to be in the new Suicide Squad from James Gunn, which actually, I'm not going to lie, I'm kind of excited for this because they showed a massive, massive roster for this, and I'm guaranteeing it right now, half of them are going to die in the first hour of this movie.
Easily. I mean, Polka Dot Man's in the film. I hope he lives, though.
I think Polka Dot Man. I actually think Polka Dot Man is going to be one of the guys who lives, actually.
Yeah,
but you have Peter Capaldi as the Thinker. For those of you who don't know, he's a guy who can interact with electronics.
Doctor Who. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. You have Peacemaker, which is John Cena, who basically he's a jerk Captain America who will use violence in order to institute peace. And he also carries a Peacemaker pistol. Other characters we've seen come back, including some of the actors. Margot Robbie's coming back as Harley Quinn. Yeah. I can't think of his name right now. Coming back as Rick Flag. Jai Courtney coming back as Captain Boomerang, who were probably the strongest members of the cast of the first one. Yeah, so I'm glad that they're coming back. Idris Elba is playing Bloodsport, who's probably best known as a mercenary who shot Superman with a kryptonite bullet. That's really his one claim to fame, so he fits here. I'm already calling it right now. Nathan Fillion's character is a character specifically made for this movie. He's going to be on screen for 5 minutes. He's going to be the guy who has his head blown up by Amanda Waller just to show off the ability of the bombs implanted in their necks. That's what I'm calling it right now because I've looked. Nobody knows who TDK is. So
Pete
I think
that's in this. Michael Rooker's in this. I'm looking at the IMDb.
Savant. Right, Michael Rooker is Savant.
Sean Gunn.
Savant is basically a super intellect. Basically, that's his great ability. But he plays it off with for like quote unquote forgetfulness. There's a ton. Obviously, James Gunn's brother is playing the CGI Weasel. And there's Ratcatcher 2 is in this.
Right.
Basically, the original Ratcatcher. They're calling it Ratcatcher 2 because the original Ratcatcher was a man. So this is how they get away. Like, we're gonna make her a woman, and we're just gonna stick a 2 in front of it. So she's like,
it's brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely, super smart. Mongol. Which is the female version of Mongol, who of course was a classic Superman villain from the Bronze Age, who was the monarch of Warworld at one point, super intergalactic dictator. In the 90s, Peter Tomasi added a female Mongol. This is the female Mongol. She's not nearly as impressive as the original Mongol, so she fits on Suicide Squad. Yay!
It was an interesting reveal. That was probably the most fun panel. Because they just joked around the whole time. They had like some trivia, but those, But yeah, it needed it because, like, again, this was a movie we were all like, what are you guys doing? Like, why are you making this? The only upside was that James Gunn was directing it, and it's like, he's got a budget behind it. But again, this is why FanDome was good. It gave us some direction with the film. They gave us a little bit more now I'm excited to see it. And it
Yeah.
looks like that's going to be going in the right direction, not so much where the Suicide Squad was going.
And Viola Davis is back as Amanda Waller again. Another amazing, another perfect casting first time around. So don't change what isn't broken. No, I think the fact that I think that James Gunn is the guy who he showed it with Guardians of the Galaxy, massive ensemble pieces. He can do this, and that's what this is going to be. And it's going to be a crazy story, and it looks like a lot of explosions, a lot of grittiness, and less of the weird supernatural stuff that was in the first movie. I think that they're doing, like they've said it a couple of times. I think it might have been Jai Courtney said this is a more grounded, war kind of movie, and I think that that's going to work well for Suicide Squad and who these guys are, and super excited for the reboot. So
me too. I mean, and again, nobody really knows what's happening because they have some of the same actors. I don't know if it's how aware they're going to be of the first film. Is it going to be, or is it going to be another one of these new universes, right? I doubt. I think it's going to be the same. I wouldn't be surprised if they make fun of the first film in this film. So
I would not. I agree. I think that this is going to be. I think they're going to play this off pretty smartly. James Gunn really knows what he's doing when it comes to this, so I'm looking forward to that. Speaking of Suicide Squad, though. Gets us into the video games. So we saw this was released a couple weeks ago. At least the title, Suicide Squad: Kill the Justice League. We finally got a full trailer, and basically Rocksteady also gave us a release window, which is 2022, which basically guarantees this is all next gen. Sefton Hill, the game director, who also did a lot with the original Arkham series, came out and also awkwardly talked with Will Arnett. I've talked to Sefton before. I kind of feel like that this was not again, I've said this before, this was not the project that Rocksteady wanted to do. This is basically DC forcing them to do this. This is a continuation of the Arkhamverse. It takes place in the Arkhamverse, which I'm sure some fans will be happy about. It also might explain what happened a little bit more of the ambiguous ending of Arkham Knight. But we're going to get to see Rocksteady's take on Brainiac.
Yes.
And basically the Justice League is turned evil. And from what we saw in the trailer, they're basically mind-controlled by Brainiac. And we saw this with a mind-controlled Superman. So that's awesome. And also we saw 4 main characters: Captain Boomerang, Harley Quinn, Deadshot, and Killer Shark, which they've also said there's going to be up to 4-player co-op in this, which is a big deal. Lee, give me your thoughts, then I'm going to give a couple more of my thoughts. So,
well, I actually thought, Ray, and we'll be seeing. It'll be interesting to see if you agree with me or disagree with me on this. I actually thought this was the highlight of the entire FanDome. I thought that trailer was the best thing that I had seen in the entire FanDome. That's including with the Batman and Arkham Knights, which we'll talk about in a minute.
Yeah,
I really enjoyed the trailer for this game. Now the game has to, keep up with the trailer.
Has to deliver, yeah.
It was funny. It was darling. It was great the way they did it. It had jokes. It was self-aware in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
It's what the Suicide Squad really is supposed to be. So I really liked it. I love seeing Brainiac. I love seeing, make sure you see this trailer, Superman vaporize someone with his, fire eyes, laser vision.
Heat vision,
Yeah, it was really, really well done. It's a story that I'm very intrigued about, and the fact that it's in the Arkhamverse really just makes me want to play it. So I thought this was the biggest surprise and the biggest triumph of FanDome. I loved everything about that trailer. There wasn't anything about that trailer that I didn't like.
Yeah.
Again, that was the highlight of the day for me.
No, that's fair. It was not the highlight of the day for me. I am excited to go back to the Arkhamverse. Again, hoping to see where it plays in. But again, I feel like this is a little forced. I feel like I am glad they're doing the mind control with Brainiac. That is a classic way to make Superman evil, right? And obviously the idea is kill the Justice League. They're not going to actually kill the Justice League, let's be honest. But they are you're going to probably have some really cool boss battles probably with folks like, I would imagine, Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, at least
all
the
of
big
them.
three. But probably. I mean, we'll probably see Flash, Green Lantern. I mean, it's gonna be interesting to see how they get through that. I'm concerned by the low roster for the Suicide Squad. Only 4 characters, which I get that it's because up to 4-player co-op. But I would have liked a couple more choices.
Well, you may get them too. Remember that.
Maybe
like you may interact with other characters because, like I said, I doubt it's just going to be the 4 of them and just Superman. And where are the DC villains too? So I think they're going to be showing up at some point.
Yeah, I mean it's going to be interesting to see the scope of it because I mean I could see it just being as those 4 are just playable, right? King Shark is the tank, Deadshot is a ranged guy, Captain Boomerang is a bit ranged guy, more of a trickster, more of a rogue character, right? If you're talking about video game archetypes, and then Harley Quinn is more like your brawler, right? With melee weapons and things like that. So you tank, brawler, rogue, and then your ranged archer, sorcerer type in long shot. I could see that them very much falling into very basic archetypes. And again, because I think this isn't the project that Rocksteady wanted to do. But I think it's going to be interesting to see how it turns out. Yeah. 2022.
They might not have wanted to do it, but it looked great. That's all I'm going to say.
Well, I mean, they're an amazing studio full of amazing talents, and I'm not surprised that if anybody can pull this off, it's going to be them. So I'm looking forward to seeing more, and hopefully it change. My opinion increases on it. The game that I thought was more of the highlight, the thing that I was more happier about, was Batman Gotham Knights, which is why. It's not, and they've already said it's not part of the Arkhamverse. Yes. So here you go, more of the multiverse, a brand new Batman video game universe. In it, and we've already kind of seen it. We've already called it. Our buddy Ray Santiago, who we've had on the show before, called it in the Geeks Who Like Sports Facebook group. Be sure to join if you haven't already. And I agree with him completely. Game starts off, Bruce Wayne is dead. It's Code Black. Yeah, dead. It's Code Black in the Batman universe, which means now that the Batman family, the Bat family, which is immediately comprised of obviously Alfred as your support, but then Batgirl, Robin, who is Tim Drake, that has been confirmed, Nightwing, and Jason Todd as good Red or anti-hero Red Hood, which I also appreciate how he's come back to the light over time, even though he's a bit more of an anti-hero and still doesn't mind killing bad guys. I think that this is going to be a lot of fun. I like the idea. But they hinted, they showed 2 major villains. They showed Mr. Freeze, which I love the new design of Mr. Freeze. I'm a little disappointed. I get it, it's a new universe, so that's why they didn't go back to some of the old voice actors. I actually talked briefly online with Maurice LaMarche, who played Mr. Freeze in the Arkhamverse. It is not him doing the voice of Mr. Freeze here, much to his disappointment. He really loved that character. I really loved him as that character. I think most people love Maurice LaMarche as any character he does because he's an amazing voice actor. Also, from the Brain from Pinky and the Brain. Obviously, he's been in Inspector Gadget as the Chief and Inspector Gadget. Long voiceover career. He was in Futurama. Go look up his credits if you haven't already. You know who Maurice LaMarche is. Trust me, you've heard who Maurice LaMarche is. But it's not him as Mr. Freeze. And we also saw the Court of Owls and the Talons, which for those of you don't know, that was a Scott Snyder. Scott Snyder, not Zack Snyder. Gosh, blanking on. There's too many Snyders in the DC universe.
It's fair, yeah.
It's not.
Well, tell people who the Owls are, but while they're listening, so you get a grip.
Yes, it is Scott Snyder. My apologies. Yeah, it's not Zack Snyder. My brain.
Listen, when you're a geek, you got to get it right.
Yeah, no, it is Scott Snyder.
JSLA.
Yeah. There's a lot going on, folks. But yeah, no, obviously. One of his first storylines with Batman is that basically there's like an underground organization that actually is controlling Gotham from the shadows, has for years, and finally the Batman's presence has finally interfered with them to the point where they can no longer ignore him, and they make Bruce Wayne a target, which is the idea that basically they kind of actually try to make him part of the court. They try to court him at first, and of course he doesn't go along with it, and then it becomes this huge drawn-out battle. You even find one of his ancestors is actually like the main Talon, which is basically like these enforcers for the Court of Owls. That basically they're zombies that they found a way to maintain their strength, and they're almost ninja-like, but they're all mind-controlled by the court, and you find out like some of them are hundreds of years old. So the suspicion that we have is that obviously Bruce Wayne has basically become a Talon that you're going to have to fight and free from the control of the Court of the Owls, which again is this shadow organization that controls everything under Gotham.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if that. I mean, they kind of gave that away a little bit in the trailer.
Yeah.
I'd be surprised if that wasn't the way it was.
Yes,
but we'll see. I mean, like they're, I don't think DC throws curveballs too well. So
yeah, no, exactly.
If they're showing us that, it's like, oh, okay, that's where we're going. But you still want to play the game, which is cool.
It looks amazing. It looks fantastic. The fact that Mr. Freeze, in a bit of almost in a nod to Batman and Robin, I thought, trying to control the weather to do a flash freeze of all of Gotham. But it looked great. It looked awesome. And they showed gameplay footage of Batgirl and Robin, and they showed that every character has different abilities. Robin has access to a short-range teleporter from the Justice League watchtower, so he can kind of blink to certain parts of the field. Batgirl is very much more like your traditional Batman character. She also uses bats to her advantage. She actually has a bat shield that comes around her, which she uses like the transmitter, and bats come around and kind of protect her as she's fighting. Just really interesting. It felt Arkham-esque, which is why it was a surprise that it's not part of that universe. But I think it's also a welcome thing, because I think that this will give WB Montreal, if this succeeds, and of course also by the way Gotham Knights, of course, an homage to classic comic book series from the 2000s that lasted for a while, that told some really great one-off stories in the early 2000s. I think that this could be a lot of fun. I hope it's not just a one-off. And I can't wait to see what other villains are in it. Obviously, again, Mr. Freeze, the Court of Owls. There's got to be more, though. But this, for me, was the highlight of the show.
Yeah, look, the thing I'll say about this, because, it's not that I didn't like that at all. I think it's gutsy and says a lot that they're making a game not with Batman, right? That they're making a game with the children of Batman, if you will. I think that says a lot about where DC is going, and that, when you look at Young Justice and some of the properties they've been growing lately, they feel these characters are strong enough to survive on their own without Batman leading the way. Now, he is in the story, obviously, and I'm sure he'll be playable at some point in some way. But the story focuses on the four kids, which I think is really great.
Yeah, no, I completely
also
agree.
Confirming in this universe, Jim Gordon is dead as well.
Yes, that is true, and you don't know why. It could be old age, it could be a variety of things, but in this universe, that Gordon is dead, which also gives the hint that the police aren't exactly your friends. Which typically what happens without Jim Gordon there as the peacemaker between the Bat family and the police, typically things degrade very quickly.
The story is going to be very interesting to see how Gotham degrades without Batman there, or what these villains think they can do without him around. So that's going to be very fun.
Yes, I think there's a lot of potential there, and hopefully WB Montreal explores that to its full potential. But speaking of difficult relationships between Batman and the police, that gives us to the final panel of the program. Which we hinted on earlier, the Batman. We finally got a trailer for the Batman, even though the movie's only about 30% done. I'm still super excited to see this, because I think that I just love Batman properties. But I am a little, obviously, there's still the concerns there that I had earlier. I do not think this trailer completely removed the doubt in my mind about what Matt Reeves is trying to do, and even Robert Pattinson as Batman. Lee, I want to get your thoughts first, because I have a lot to say about this one.
Yeah, look, this film needed direction. This film needed, from a fan point of view, we needed to get an idea of what it was that we were going to see. Especially because, remember, like when they announced this film, we all kind of had the why are you making another Batman right now? Then there was like, well, how is this going to work with Justice League? How is this going to work with Joker? How is this going to work? And they gave us those answers, and the long and the short of it is, this is Batman in his second year of being Batman. So he exists, but he's not exactly trusted yet. But he exists enough where we don't need his origin story at all. And it also allows him to focus on his early detective skills, which is he's the world's most famous detective, or best detective. So I love that they said that yesterday, because it gets out of the way. Like, I don't want another Batman origin. So that's out of the way, right? It also, there's lines in there like, you're becoming quite the celebrity, probably about Bruce Wayne becoming somewhat of a celebrity. So what I like, and this is why the word I would use to describe what I saw is promising. Now, I know another one of our viewers, Randall Begins, does not like this trailer at all. He goes, I don't want this to be this way. So again, it's kind of a split decision on a lot of people. I mean, like I said, the trailer's brand new, so you either love it or hate it. But I thought it was gutsy to put a trailer out when there's only 30% of the movie filmed.
Yep.
They established clearly the Riddler. I didn't see any footage of Oswald Cobblepot.
Actually, no, you did. You did. You
I
just
did.
So that guy. It's actually it's a credit to Colin Farrell because it's such a transformation.
That was him in makeup.
So the guy driving that car
That's
or whatever,
him,
like away
wow.
from the explosion, that's him. Yeah,
Okay,
like
wow.
it.
I didn't even recognize him.
I didn't either. I actually had to go to a scene analysis because I'm like, did we see who is that guy? There was
Well, there you
two
go.
guys that he didn't know. It was that's Oswald Cobblepot, and I had no idea either. Also, the guy at the press conference with Gordon next to him, that's Commissioner Loeb.
Yes, I was gonna say that's the commissioner. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I'm guessing the Riddler is the guy with the duct tape, but we don't really know. But we'll find out.
Yeah, it's not confirmed yet. We don't know. Yeah.
Right. So it was a good enough trailer to pique my interest, to say it's promising. I like where they're going, and I did appreciate the explanation that this is Batman in his second year. He doesn't have a great relationship with the police.
Yeah.
That he's just starting to understand Jim Gordon, and there's a relationship building. So essentially, this is a version of Batman we've never seen, which is good.
Not on film. Yeah.
Yeah. Excuse me. Yes, absolutely. We've never seen this cinematically, which is good. Which means, okay, I can buy into this. Now, rounding this out with before your thoughts, Ray. When we talked about with the multiverse and what's about to happen in FlashPoint, which we actually probably should discuss again. But with everything that's happening, this now does have a place, which it desperately needed. It had no place before yesterday. Now it has a place. And I'm not. Again, I hear people saying about Pattinson shouldn't be Batman. Like, if we've learned never to judge anybody playing any character in a Batman film until after the film.
Yeah.
So it's promising. I like it. I'm intrigued, and I'm more excited for it than I have ever been.
Yeah. No, that's fair. I mean, I'm definitely, my hopes are higher for it. I do have concerns. I hope that the guy doing the duct tape is not the final Riddler form.
Oh, I hope
right?
so too. Yeah.
Right. Like, I mean, I didn't like that costume with the glasses.
Looked more like Hush than he did.
Well, yeah, no, exactly.
Yeah.
Right. Which, funny enough, one of the last animated movies actually made the Riddler Hush. Actually, they made that combination. But I do appreciate the serial killer angle. It makes the Riddler a bit more nefarious and a bit more dangerous. I liked the early version of Catwoman. It's a very much a year one Catwoman that they showed off with Zoe Kravitz at the beginning with. And obviously they also hinted at that she will have more of a transformation as the film goes on. Much like Oswald Cobblepot. He's not at the full Penguin level yet, right? Like, these are the early forms of some of these guys. I liked the riddles. I liked the relationship, like you said, that there's a bit of distrust, but they're starting to build that with Gordon. Jeffrey Wright is amazing in everything he does. I think he's going to be an amazing commissioner, or James Gordon. Right now, I think still just Captain Gordon, but I think he'll be commissioner by end of the film. I think that my real concern still is, I really still don't like the cowl. I'm not a big fan of the Pattinson costume, but I think he wears it well. I thought him beating up the thug was easily the highlight of the trailer. It really showed his brutality. His anger really came through in his fighting. I think there was a lot there. I worry more about Robert Pattinson as Bruce Wayne, whereas you mentioned Heath Ledger as the Joker before. You're right. We definitely can't judge based on early, and we are keeping an open mind. But when we first saw Ledger's Joker in action, all our fears dissipated, really, at Comic-Con. I remember that trailer, that 6-minute release. I mean, like, everybody was like, okay, we're on board. With this, I'm still kind of like, I don't know if he can pull off the Bruce Wayne aspect of this.
Well, we don't know what Bruce Wayne we're going to get. And that's that's the thing, too, is like, he's clearly just returned to Gotham not too long. He looks young. I mean, they made him look young. He looks very emo, like he's still mourning his parents.
I was going to say, he's very emo looking, and I don't think that's... I mean, that's
as long as he doesn't don a black
choice.
Spider-Man outfit, and start dancing.
Sandman.
Yeah. Watch this.
Yeah, no, I think I don't know. I've got a lot to think about. There's still obviously
there's too much to shoot. Yeah. I mean, sorry, Ray, to cut you off. That's the other big thing. Is like this is 30% done. We haven't seen anything. This was just a teaser reel they put together, and I appreciated it. That's
well, I was going to say though, is it irresponsible though to release some sort of a trailer like this before it's the finished product?
No, because here's the thing, we probably would have had a full trailer by now anyway. If the pandemic didn't happen, and look again, this film needed a seat at the table. Because like I said, with what they're doing with the multiverse now, it was going to get lost in the fray. It was dangerously close to that when it was announced.
Yeah.
So like they know Justice League is coming. The last thing they want is Justice League to come out and be like, well, I don't need another Batman. You know what I mean? So they needed something to get their place at the table, and I think they accomplished that. So no, I don't think it's irresponsible, and I think audiences know what's going on. Like, they were very clear that this we don't have a lot of footage. This is what we can show you. I mean, like you said, it's a pandemic, man. You got to be willing to take some hits here. Like again, the sports segment, we're all watching bubble cities. Well, at least the ones that are doing it right. There is some form of understanding here. That's all I'm trying to say. Yeah,
no, for sure. I just think that while my hopes are higher, I'm still not sold 100% on this. This is going to be a complete success.
We'll see.
I hope I'm proven. Of course, I hope I'm proven wrong. But
again, promising. That was the word I chose to describe this. It's not sold. It's not like it's promising. I like where they're going. I do want to jump back into FlashPoint real quick if we can before we.
Okay, we're almost at an hour here talking about DC.
I know, but it's worth it. Okay, I just want to make it real quick. So 2 things that I took away from that. So FlashPoint, obviously, film will have Michael Keaton, who they said is going to design Flash a new outfit. All right, so like they are really going to merge '89 Batman with this universe in a way that is lasting. So he's going to make the new outfit for the Flash. Obviously, Jeff Dean Morgan's going to come in as Thomas Wayne in another universe. Ben Affleck, after some script changes, says he's coming back. Michael Keaton would not have signed on for this if it did not. They said he's going to be a prominent character in the film.
Yeah, okay, all these guys, he's going to have a major role. Yeah.
And then the other funny thing that I realized from this panel was that in the DCU, Flash was not called Flash. They actually never referred to him as the Flash in the film, and it was funny because they talked about how when Ezra Miller met the TV Flash says, "You're the Flash," and there's this moment Ezra goes, "The Flash." Yeah, that's how he gets his name. I thought there was a little bit of a cool reveal that I didn't really pick up on that until they said something. But FlashPoint is now the film that is going to bring every DC property together, and that's why I wanted to bring it up because that probably is the most important film now for DC.
They have. Right. That's the movie. They have to stick the landing on any more than any other movie they're making. That's the one they have to not mess up.
Yeah, and I just want to say this is that I don't think Michael Keaton and Ben Affleck would have signed on to that if there wasn't something there. All right, that was a choice. That was a choice. They're not obligated to do it. So that was a choice by 2 men who said that they might not ever play Batman again. To play Batman, remember Keaton famously said that he didn't take on Batman 3 because quote it sucked. Yeah, that's what he said about the script. It sucked. So for him to come back is a big deal after mocking Batman and Birdman. I mean, this is going to be good. Ray, with that, it has been an hour. I'll let you transition out of this. FanDome!
All right, so we talked a lot about video games here and also in the FanDome. We talked about Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League. We talked about Batman Gotham Knights. A lot of other video game stuff happened this week. High Score, which is on Netflix now. It's a 6-episode mini docu-series on the early years, I'd say the first 20 years of the video game industry, really from the advent of a lot of stuff in the 70s. Up to the first real console war between Genesis and Nintendo and Super Nintendo in the early 90s. And it is, we're not just talking about it because our good friend Gordon Bellamy is in 2 episodes, but it's really because it's a fantastically done mini docu-series. There's stuff that even I learned that I didn't know about. Stuff like I didn't realize how quickly the video game industry became a billion-dollar industry, right? Like I know that it's the most highest grossing industry in the world now, that it's easily billions upon billions of dollars, and it's over $60 billion a year gross profit. But even in the 80s, it was a $5-6 billion a year industry, which is saying something in 80s money. Of course, seeing the rise and fall of arcades again was very near and dear to my heart. This is the era. I grew up in a lot of this, right? And so did Lee, obviously. Some of the early stuff, like some of the original Ultima, they touch on with Lord British Richard Garriott, who was, by the way, I interviewed him several years ago. One of the nicest guys in gaming, honestly, absolutely. And also a great mind just to talk to, a brilliant mind to talk to. People don't realize how smart a lot of these game developers are to have pushed this industry forward. And just talking to them and picking their brain has always been a pleasure. Trip Hawkins is another guy who I've talked to a lot of. A guy who wasn't featured in this, but the CEO of Epic, Tim Sweeney. Another one of these really just smart guys who just genius level intellects, who loves video games and loves coding and programming, and also turning it into, of course, one of these major businesses. Obviously, just look at what Fortnite's become with Epic. But it's just, absolutely phenomenal. They got into esports. They got into, again, consoles, the transition from computers, the rise of computers. People don't even realize computers were not a gaming thing originally. It was really consoles, really the Nintendo. And when this I knew was that really kind of made video games what they are today in the industry that we love, and really helped that flourish again after the fall of Atari. But also E.T. took 5 weeks to make. Like, I mean, we joke about video game movie tie-ins now, but and typically they do have a shorter development time than regular games, but 5 weeks, it just shows. And of course, my own PTSD when they mention Legacy of the Wizard, which was one of the hardest, most ridiculously convoluted NES games ever made. I literally started to shake because I'm like, oh my god. But yeah, absolutely phenomenal. Lee, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, well, my thoughts are this. If you haven't seen it yet, go watch it. High Score on Netflix. It'll be 6 hours well spent over the course of a week, number one. The thing that I was impressed about this was they definitely paid homage to a lot of the unsung heroes of the gaming industry, and also paid tribute to the real origin of gaming. And what I mean by that is a lot of documentaries I've seen about gaming, they kind of jump in, oh, then this game was made, then this game was made. This one took it a step further of like, look, people played Dungeons and Dragons, and there was a game master, and he had to tell a story, or she had to tell a story. And then they thought about, what if I put this into a game? And then there was a character, I can't remember her name right now, that drew out on a piece of paper.
Roberta Williams.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And Ray knows this about me. Her drawing that out spoke to me so much because I'm a visual person, and I've done that. Ray and I have worked on projects. I've drawn out a map of a timeline, and I was like, man, that makes sense to me. But I love that they went to that point of a pencil and a piece of paper and how that would create a video game. That is something that I really loved because it shows really the artistry, the storytelling, these things you don't think about all the time when you play games. Games are fun, but you don't think about the story. I'm a story type guy, as everybody that listens knows that. Yeah. The other thing that I thought that they did was, and I'll admit this is not something I really knew until we were at PAX last year, at least not on this level, is the gaming community is so inclusive and so immersive and such good people. I mean, I remember when I went to PAX, like the love you'd felt at that event between everyone, race, gender, it didn't matter. Everyone was just, together through their love of gaming. And it was almost ironic to me. Keep in mind, like I never thought ill of the gaming community ever. Never have I thought ill. I just didn't realize it was that beautiful. And this is the community that's often told, well, video games are going to increase violence.
Yeah.
Video games are going to cause people to be violent. And it's like, it literally is, literally the exact opposite of that. And I'm not saying there's not jerks in the industry or there's not jerks that game. Yeah. But like I thought that this documentary really celebrated the people that have been in the shadows, both literally and figuratively, and how they made impacts on gaming to put it to the next level. That goes for Gordon Bellamy, a good friend of ours, someone who's really rooted for Ray and I, someone who's helped Ray and I, and is a visionary as much as he is a keystone in the gaming industry, definitely for Madden. If you played Madden in your life, you owe this man something, right? But also just everybody involved with that documentary. It was well done, 6 episodes, easy to watch. It does end right at the advent of multiplayers online, which was a great place to stop. Right,
yes.
Like right before the N64 came out, pretty much is where it ended.
Right, yeah. The advent of Doom and online multiplayer and some tournaments and stuff, and like that was really a great place. Yeah,
lots, as Ray said, lots of stuff that you just didn't know, even if you think you did. So, real quick, it's a great trip down memory lane. You'll love it, especially if you're kind of in your 30s. All right, if you're not too, you will too. Great stuff, uncovering things that I never knew, never understood. That like Doom was based off of a line from a Tom Cruise movie.
Yes,
which was
yeah.
I didn't
That's
know
where the
that,
title came
you know?
from. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely worth your time to see. If you like our show, you'll love High Score. That's what I'll say. That makes us look good. It makes High Score look good.
Yes,
right?
no,
There
for
you
sure.
go.
I mean, you mentioned Gordon. Gordon talking about like. He's the one who added black people to Madden for the first time.
Yeah.
Like, that was phenomenal. Yeah. But also, though, in the beginning, Jerry Lawson. For those of you who don't know, I knew who Jerry Lawson was, but a lot of folks don't know. Jerry Lawson is the inventor of the video game cartridge.
Yeah.
Like, the system he worked on, the Channel F, did not do well, and a lot of people don't know about it. And honestly, I kind of forgot about the Channel F myself for a brief moment. But, like, what he did to the video games industry, the invention of the cartridge, catapulted the video game industry in terms of being a home entertainment system.
Little things that
light years, and this was an African American man. He was the first. Yeah. He was the first really prominent black man in the video game industry, and for a long time did not get the love he deserved for various reasons in Silicon Valley. But it was his invention of the video game cartridge that really brought things forward, and it was phenomenal. And also
that's exactly what I'm talking about. Like, they went out of their way to correctly give credit to that man and his family. Like, that's why I really love this documentary. It really took it to another level for me.
I mean, and they all talked about Shigeru Miyamoto. Honestly, I was surprised how little they talked about Shigeru Miyamoto and how important he was. Well, probably, and Nintendo, right? But it was also some fun stories, like when the development of the Super FX chip for the Super Nintendo for Star Fox, because they really did an interesting thing where some episodes did parallels. So while John Romero and John Carmack are developing Doom, they're also talking about developing the Super FX chip for Nintendo.
For Star Fox,
and for Star Fox. And basically, it's really the the early beginnings of 3D gaming, right? Doom, obviously, and Wolfenstein 3D, the first time you're existing in a first-person 3D space, and then Nintendo doing the same thing for the first time on a console with Star Fox, and these two things are happening really simultaneously.
Yeah, I mean, they talked about the importance of sound in games. I mean, it was just so well done.
Yes.
Right? I mean, it was just so well done. And then, like, the way they immersed that into the real world, and I don't want to give the whole thing away, but things like how Star Fox flies through tunnels, like where that came from, and how Nintendo changed the world of sound, how sound in games were not anywhere near what they were until Nintendo came around. Things like that you'll appreciate. And, of course, the cherry on top for me is just knowing that everyone loves killing Nazis in video games.
Yes.
We all love to kill Hitler in video games. It's like the only time I'll ever sound vulgar, but everyone agrees with me. If you don't, stop listening to the show, because there's another Easter
Nazis
egg about me being Jewish that might not want to watch this. But anyway, yes, High Score, Netflix, go watch it. It's on the top 10 list. You will enjoy it, every minute of it. Ray and I both binged it for this episode, and I'm glad that we did.
Yes, I watched it all. I watched the first 3 episodes Friday, watched the last 3 episodes yesterday.
It's great.
It was absolutely fantastic. Definitely worth the viewing. And speaking of video games from that era, actually, this is a perfect transition from the 26 years ago. So the early 90s, I should say. My apologies. A game called Battletoads came out. And still one of the games I never beat because of that damn Clinger Winger stage. I could just never get the timing right.
Nobody beat that game. I don't know anyone who's actually beaten that game.
Yeah, no, Battletoads was one of the most impossible games. But a game I did beat on Friday night on my Twitch stream, which is twitch.tv/RayCarcillo. It took me 5 hours. The new Battletoads game that came out, and I'm going to say this. If you are an old school game fan, I think this is going to be right up your alley. It's got a couple of issues for sure, but what's fantastic about it is it gives you a taste of a variety of classic video game styles, from bullet hells to platformers to the beat-em-ups that were the original Battletoads. Gives you a taste of everything: puzzle platformers, side-scrollers, 3D space, and its humor on top of it. Really very self-aware. Makes fun of itself on a lot of levels, makes fun of video games on a lot of levels, and makes fun of the time period it came from and the time period we're in now in a lot of ways. And I think if you're an older gamer, I think you're going to find something to enjoy. And I think even if you're a younger gamer, I think the people who aren't going to enjoy this is that middle, jaded, late teen, early college years kid. But I think if you're a kid...
What the hell is this?
Yeah, exactly. I think if you're 13 and if you're 13 and exactly. If you're 13 and under or 25 and older, you'll probably enjoy this game a lot.
Yeah.
Also, the art style was great. I absolutely really loved it. I love the color style.
What was funny about it is exactly the people I know of that age group, that middle age group that I know were like, "What is this? Why would I want to play this?" I'm like, "This is the game, man. This was the game for a while."
Yeah.
But I was actually watching Ray play it on Twitch, and this is what I'll say. Because I think this is the biggest compliment I can give the game is I was watching Ray play, had a smile on his face, and he would laugh. You would laugh a lot on that stream just at the jokes in the game. So if that's not good enough for you, I don't know what is. This is a New Yorker here we're talking about in LA, laughing at Battletoads. So I'm looking forward to playing that with my kid too. My kid who loves Streets of Rage. This is a little less violent in a fun way.
It's a bit more cartoony for him.
Yeah, which he needs. So because he really loves Streets of Rage at Ray. He doesn't stop playing it. He's beaten it like 10 times. I'm not kidding. He keeps unlocking everybody. I'm like, we need to move on from this before you punch someone by accident.
Yeah,
right? Because video games make kids violent. I mean, it's been proven. All right. He also hugs me incessantly and blows kisses at me when he's playing ice hockey on the ice. So he's clearly going to be a violent kid.
Logan is one of the most loving kids I've ever seen, and I think it's because of video games.
Yeah, I think so too. My daughter's like a torpedo; she'll just jump like head first at you. Like
it's also because you and Janet are fantastic parents, by the way.
Oh, well, thank you, Ray. We do try.
Like that is you guys have done a really great job thus far. Yes.
They're young. They're young. Just give it some time. I can't wait till I come home. Dad, I hate you. Well, I love you, son.
Yes.
Damn it, Dad! You're supposed to hate me back. Like, no, I thought that too, but I just love you. So anyway, Battletoads. Definitely take a look at that if you're from that time period. If you love that game, easy buy, $20, Xbox.
Yes,
and PC,
Xbox and PC.
Easy to beat. Yeah. It's a fun game to play. You play for
it was worth the $20.
That's all you need to hear right there.
Yeah, no, I think a lot of folks will actually enjoy this. And there's also 3-player local co-op. I think one of my only problems with the game is that they did not have online co-op available.
Yeah.
But I think if you have 3 Xbox controllers, it might be great for you, Lee, to play with Logan and Alina. So, or Janet can jump in. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think that's the one of the real only problems. That and towards the end, they kind of got. I'll say this: they kind of gave you too much of a smorgasbord of other games and got away a little bit from the beat 'em up action. But I think it was still a lot of fun, and I think that overall, I would give it probably an 8 out of 10. So
that's a high score, Ray. That really is a high score for those of you at home. Ray does not give out 8s and above too often. Yeah,
it's a solid score. So. But yeah, no. So speaking of people watching me on Twitch, in a very similar way, who's been watching folks on WWE? Folks in the WWE Thunderdome. Yes, they did this new thing last week where I guess viewers from home can zoom in and they put all these screens up and
they do what the NBA is doing.
Yeah, as if that there's an audience there and. Yeah, it was a thing. I don't know. I don't think it was creepy.
It's a really quick segment. It's nothing special. It's a good idea. They're following what the NBA is doing in terms of people can kind of come in and watch. Gives the wrestlers something to look at. Gives it a little bit more of that crowd aspect, which is something really important to the WWE. And I give them credit. They're adapting to find a way to do this and what's going on, and they found a solution for the long haul. So good for them. It's a good move. Nothing original, but it's a good move.
Yeah, it's something they needed, and obviously too a lot of that. We talked about this last week with AEW actually letting folks back into the stands, a few folks at least, that the wrestlers do feed on that energy and they do need it sometimes. So I think this was a good thing overall for them. So, but speaking of the NBA, it's time to move into sports now. A lot happening. We'll start with basketball because this will be relatively quick. The first round of the NBA playoffs are starting to wrap up. Not surprisingly, basically, look. Basketball is not hockey. You rarely have a lower seed, unless it's a 4-5 matchup. You rarely have a lower seed upset a higher seed. The Celtics swept the 76ers today. The 76ers are done. You're seeing also...
They are in trouble, man. They might have to get Brett Brown out of there, and if they're not careful, they're going to lose Joel Embiid, and they're going to be in hell again. This is a team that was told to trust the process, and they are stalling hard. I will say that right now.
Well, I mean, they had a few good years there where they went deep into the playoffs, and now suddenly it looks like you had a window, and suddenly that window's closing a lot faster.
I don't think the window's closed. I think they're going the wrong direction, if that makes sense. I think they're in danger of losing the players to keep the window open. I think it's time, no offense to Brett Brown, but it's time to look for another coach that can push these guys. Because if we lose Joel Embiid, it's back to trusting the process.
Yeah, no, exactly. So, it's true. And this is, I mean, I'm not
good on Boston, by the way, for sweeping. Yes,
I'm not surprised Boston won. I'm surprised Boston swept.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And good on them for taking that.
Yeah, like it was that was a surprise for sure. A lot of folks were knocking teams like the Lakers and Bucks for dropping game 1 of their series. Since then, they've trounced their first round opponents. Because I'll say this: a lot of these teams that were the number 1 seed, the Lakers, the Bucks, even with the restart, they really haven't played meaningful basketball in months. Because after the restart, these teams were before the restart, these teams were number 1 seed. They had locked this stuff up literally in like February. So them coming out and having a rusty game 1 against the Blazers, and I forget who the Bucks were playing in game 1 of their series, the Magic, right? It was a wake-up call for these teams, and I think the Lakers honestly,
it's not the first time the Lakers have lost the first game. I mean,
exactly. So they're up 2-1 in their both of those teams have come back to take a 2-1 lead in their series. The Mavericks are holding on for dear life right now against the Clippers. They're down, but no surprise, the Clippers should win that series.
Just keep it short, right? Whoever wins between the Clippers and Lakers is probably going to win the NBA title this year.
Pretty much, right? Those are easily the 2 favorite teams. Yeah. And like I said, look, you rarely have upsets in basketball because the parity in basketball is far less existent than in other sports.
Yeah, and this is one of the only years that I'll say I'm kind of pulling for the Lakers this year for multiple reasons.
For Kobe.
How bad they were last year. And like I said, look, Kobe meant so much to basketball, and I think the LA Laker fans are really hurting. They're really hurting. He meant so much to that organization. Like just Jordan did to the Bulls. I mean, it's the same thing. It's that level. And again, he died right before all this started. But I'm kind of pulling for the Lakers because they're playing for him. It's very clear that they are. So it's one of those few times they get the sentimental vote from me.
Yeah, no, I agree for sure. So but we'll see. I think it's definitely gonna be an LA team, and either way there'll be riots. So great. So moving on to hockey now. All of that wrapped up actually rather quickly in the NHL as well. A lot of more short series than not. The Flyers beat the Canadiens in 6. The Canucks beat the Blues in 6. The Islanders beat the Caps in 5. The Stars beat the Flames in 6. The Lightning beat the Blue Jackets in 5. Bruins came back to beat Hurricanes in 5. So much for Tuukka Rask being so instrumental to them. By the way, it's come out that there was actually a medical emergency with his daughter. That's part of the reason why he wanted to leave. So now everybody who was criticizing me even more, you should shut up. Yeah. Colorado
retroactive jerks.
Yeah, exactly. Coyotes lost to Colorado, and we're into the second round now. Second round started yesterday. Yes. Kind of a little bit of surprise. I'm surprised the Stars knocked off the Avalanche in game 1. I still think the Avalanche will take that series, but we'll see.
To be fair to the Avalanche, really brilliant post-game. Just like, put that one behind us. That was their attitude. I mean, like I said, it was the right attitude to have. I mean, when you get to the second round of the NHL playoffs, there's no more flukes. There's no more Cinderella stories. I mean, there's only, I believe, I'm looking at it right now, the only teams here that were below the number 4 mark are the New York Islanders and the Canucks, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, the Canucks were a 5 seed, which, again, not surprising when if a 4 seed loses to a 5 seed.
Right.
They're taking on the Golden Knights. I think the Golden Knights should take that series,
the Knights look strong. The Golden Knights versus Canucks, the Knights look very strong. But we'll see. Like I said, again, there's so many factors. If this was a normal playoff year, I'd say that, but you just don't know. I'll give you an example. Philadelphia Flyers versus the New York Islanders, right? So it's funny because I'm a Flyers fan, and this clip is going to appear on a channel that a lot of people are going to want to jump on me about, but I'm going to say the same thing I said before. Flyers took on Montreal. I said, do you want Montreal? They're really hot. They beat Pittsburgh. Yes, I want the 24th team in the league. Okay, now same thing with the Islanders. I give the Islanders a lot of credit. ton of credit for beating the Capitals. It was a great series. They took it. They owned them. Barry Trotz. Yes, I want the lowest remaining seed. If you're asking me, of course I do. Do they think they can beat us? Yes. Should they beat us? No. Okay? Yeah. We just played the best goalie in the tournament. Now we're going to be playing the best defense. Yeah. Okay? And yes, the Islanders are hot. The Flyers are hot too. Okay? Yeah. We have the best goalie in the tournament remaining, in my opinion. Okay?
That's fair.
Albeit he's very young.
That's fair.
He's only 22, for those you don't know. Yeah. Carter Hart is 22 years old.
Yeah, we've heard that a lot.
He's 22. All right? So I think actually the Lightning-Bruins matchup is pretty incredible. These are two teams that have lost finals in recent years. They are two teams that have been embarrassed in the playoffs in recent years.
Yes.
Okay, so those are two teams. That's going to be a really good series. If you had to pick one series to watch, I think Flyers-Islanders is going to be a great series. I am picking the Flyers in that series. Only because, again, I don't know why people do this. People talking about the Flyers like they're the underdogs, and I'm like, guys, I don't think they are. And again, I'm not saying that the Islanders can't win. I'm just saying I think the Flyers are a better team if they get going and their power play's going. It's on. Knights versus Canucks. The Knights should win that series again. The Canucks are going to get in there, and the Avalanche really. I think I would not be surprised if they sweep from here on out against Dallas.
No, so, I agree.
But every team deserves to be here now. That's what I'm trying to say. Every team in the second round is a threat, and they deserve to be there. There's no more of these like, oh wow, the Canadians beat this team and they got in. Like they were Cinderella story and they got beat by a better team. In my opinion, not a shot at Montreal. You're not deep enough. Okay, so Capitals should be ashamed of themselves. By the way, that was a horrendous effort.
Yeah.
Once again, proving that they should never have let Barry Trotz go. I do not understand what had happened there. He got Ovechkin motoring at a level he's never been at before or since, and he beat you with less talent in an organized team that understood the power of working together to beat one of the most talented teams in the league.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, for sure, it just was crazy. And now Washington's window, speaking of windows closing, is probably closing even quicker because Holtby's a free agent now.
Yep.
And
they fired Todd Reirden today. They fired the head coach today.
Yeah, well, there you go. So it's some turmoil in the nation's capital when it comes to their hockey team.
So, what?
So,
in DC?
So I could have ended that some turmoil in the nation's capital and just ended it there.
Period. Yeah.
But no. So that's an interesting. Who you taking in Bruins Tampa Bay?
Man, it's tough. It's a tough one because, I'm a big storyline guy. I think storylines drive teams this time of year. Mm-hmm. So you got the team that lost in the final versus the team that got embarrassed in the first round.
Yeah.
All right. So it's I don't know, man. This is to me this is like a 7-game series, and it's going to come a lot to do with health. I think the Bruins might have a slight advantage because Stamkos is not there. And but I think the Lightning can easily win that series too. But I think that's going 7 with overtimes. That's the series I'm looking at right there.
Yeah.
I'm gonna I'll put my predictions out there. I don't usually do this. I'm picking the Flyers in 6 over the Islanders. I'm picking the Avalanche in 5 over Dallas, and I'm picking the Knights in 6 over the Canucks.
Yeah, the Canucks surprised a lot of people. St. Louis looked tired or not up to. The Canucks simply outplayed them in a lot of levels, and obviously the Canucks advanced. That was a bit of a surprise.
Here's the other thing that I'm going to tell you too with the Knights, and this is the one thing that I don't know is going to work out. So Marc-Andre Fleury, one of the goalies for the Knights, his agent tweeted out a picture of Fleury with a sword through his chest with the head coach's Peter DeBoer's name on the sword, which is not exactly what you want to see from a team standpoint this time of the year. Okay, so DeBoer has been playing Robin Lehner in net a lot more than Fleury, which, you're playing the hot goaltender. Something's going on there.
Yeah.
That can spell doom for a team if they cannot internally figure out whatever's going on there. You do not want a goalie controversy in the playoffs, and you do not want an internal. So I think that, first off, that was incredibly selfish by that agent.
Well, what do you expect? He's an agent. Right? He's the scum of the earth.
Here's the thing. That's just disregard for that entire team and every other player in that organization to put the spotlight on it like that and to get people questioning why is Fleury not playing. You handle that business internally. I believe something's going on. I believe something bad's going on too.
Yeah.
Okay, but you let that happen internally. I think that you took the spotlight off the team and the players, and I think that's a mistake. So that's the only time. So the Knights will either rally around that and move forward, or they will crumble and the Canucks will move on to the conference final.
Yeah, I am with you. I'm still picking Vegas. I think I'm going with the rally idea. I'm picking Vegas in 6. I'm taking Tampa in 7. I think Tampa's going to take that over to Boston. It's going to be it's going to be a good series. Yeah, it's going to be a good series. I'm also picking the Flyers. I think that's 5 or 6. I'm not sure on the games yet, but
the Flyers in the first round and the second round, the Flyers are in this position, and again, people get on me when I say this, but there is a meaning behind this. It's if you can't beat these teams, you weren't good enough to win the cup.
Yes.
Okay, and everybody always says to me like, well, obviously if they can't, but that's not what I'm trying to say. Like, these are teams we should be beating if we're a true cup contender. That's all I'm trying to say. Okay, you look at Tampa Bay and Boston, they're both worthy cup contenders, right? Like, someone's going to lose that series, okay?
Yep.
You know, I mean, as a Flyers or an Islanders fan, the way you're looking at it is like, wow, one of these behemoths is going to get knocked off, right? But, you know, like, same thing. Like, you look at Avalanche, Dallas. Avalanche should win that series.
Yeah, I think Colorado in 6 in that one,
Yeah, same thing with Vancouver and who has no playoff experience versus the Knights, who most of the team has played. So, again, like I said, there's only one series here where, you know, one of the behemoths is getting knocked off. But, yeah, I'm looking forward to this round, which started yesterday. You know, it's possible by the next episode, although unlikely, we might be going towards the third round already.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens for sure. But yeah, those are our predictions for the NHL. Yeah, it's gonna be fast. It's gonna be a fascinating second round. This is when things are gonna really start to pick up.
They've been doing such a great job. Still 0 cases of coronavirus in the NHL. Action-packed games. They've been doing a great job.
Yep.
But someone who hasn't done a good job as we transition is someone we actually spoke about last week.
Yeah.
Which is Mike Milbury, who we talked about, who was
jerk.
talking. Yeah, he had suggested something stupid about changing the playoff format. Well, unfortunately, he Don-Cherried himself out of the NHL this week after making
leave the bubble. You're out of the bubble.
Yeah, derogatory statement about women. And look, here's the thing, man. Every time this stuff happens, oh, we're so soft. We're so soft. Shut up.
Yeah.
Okay, it's 2020, everyone. You can't say certain things on the air anymore. Now,
do I have to stop insulting people?
Yeah,
or half the species. Like,
yeah. Come on, right? Like, so again, just bringing it up to what he said. I mean, he said very nonchalantly, "Oh, there's no distractions in the bubble, like including women." Now, do I think he meant any ill will with that? No, I don't think he thought when he spoke. That doesn't make it okay.
No,
it is wrong. You know, Travis, a very good friend of mine, and Ray, really said something to me that kind of opened my eyes up a little bit the other day, at least the way he worded it. He said, you know, when these things happen, we always look at the person who did and say, oh, he this, he that, she that, or no, he did this, he shouldn't have said that. And nobody thinks about what it might feel like to be a woman and to hear that. And, you know, he said that's really what we should be talking about, that how women are portrayed and how a woman must feel hearing that it's like, oh, we're not good enough to be there in the game, or we're an afterthought. And that was a great point. So if you want to call everybody soft, you know, take a good look at yourself, especially if you got a daughter. All right, and just you know, you can't say certain things on the air anymore. I don't know what else to say to you. It was inappropriate. They took him out of the bubble. He's done for the year. I don't know if he's going to get fired or not. Most likely, we have a precedent set with Jeremy Roenick. Okay.
Yeah.
But you know, it is. He said what he said. It's not appropriate.
Yeah.
End of story.
Yeah, I'm with you, 100%. You bet you could. I couldn't have said it better myself. So it's so we're just gonna move on. Mike Milbury's a moron.
Transition.
Yeah, Mike Milbury's a moron. And speaking of guys who should have been fired from their broadcasting job, but has been suspended indefinitely. But I think there's probably a legal thing there with a contract. And I think as soon as that contract is up, he's done, like officially done. But moving into welcome folks to how baseball screwed things up this week. This week in baseball screw ups. This is Mel Allen here with another episode of This Week in Baseball Screw Ups. And folks, we have a good one for you. As God. Thom Brennaman, TV play-by-play man for Fox Sports Ohio, does football games for Fox Sports, and of course also does all the Reds games. Well, not anymore. As Thom Brennaman,
How about that?
He said something in front of a hot microphone, which this is the first thing you're taught in broadcasting school is assume a microphone is on if you're near it. He said a homophobic slur that on air that
it's about as bad as you can make.
It's literally the worst
you can do.
it's I mean, I guess if you have to make the equivalent, it's probably like the N-word for gay people.
It is the N-word for gay people,
right? Like, I mean, it's the F word. We're not going to say any more than that, and that's all you need to know. He said it on air.
Oh God!
And That's it. Bye-bye, Thom Brennaman. So I want to also put out there, folks, officially my resume to become the Cincinnati Reds play-by-play man. Go to Ray Carcillo, twitch.tv/Ray Carcillo.
Ray. This was a complete embarrassment.
Yes, I will move to Cincinnati, by the way. I am willing to do that. That's how much I would like to get a play-by-play job. But
desperate.
It's absolutely disgusting. Absolutely
unforgivable. And he should be fired. He came on the air later in the game, gave...
Oh, the worst. It wasn't an apology. Yeah. No, it was him trying to save his butt. He did not apologize to the LGBTQ community. He did not apologize to anybody he might have offended. He apologized to his bosses at the Reds and Fox Sports. The Reds, by the way, who historically had one of the most racist owners in baseball history. But, like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
That is the most disingenuous BS. You trying to save your butt because you thought you were going to have this job another 20 years, and now you'll be lucky if you're going to be calling the Puppy Bowl or something on Discovery Networks, because that's how far you are out, my friend.
Done.
Get out of here!
I don't want to give this guy too much time.
Yeah,
because he's had a long career, and it's always a shame in the sense of like when you see someone fall from grace like this. But you deserve it. It was disgusting. Your apology was horrible. He even gave anybody who knows me knows how I really am. Well, listen, man.
I think this is how he really is.
Yeah, that's a pretty derogatory term. If you're saying it there, you say it off the air, and you're done. All right, and you can't do that. It's 2020. You can't do that. Not a baby thing. Again, Ray said it. It's the first thing you learn.
Yep.
Is you do not say anything when you have a headset on or a microphone near you that you don't want out there, okay? And again, it's a shame. It's a shame.
Like, in the middle of the broadcast.
That he said it, not that he's gotten fired.
Yeah, no, like, the middle of the broadcast, like, you really think, like, again, we're done with it. He's just another moron in baseball being shown the door.
Yeah. We'll get that. We're going to look at baseball as a whole in a minute.
Yeah, we got a lot of stuff going on with baseball. Also, stupid guys in baseball. Clevinger and Zach Plesac of Cleveland.
So stupid.
They were sent to the. These are two of Mike Clevinger and Zach Plesac, two of the young superstar starting pitchers for the Indians. And they are now at the alternate site because they were sent down there for at least 10 days as punishment for going out and having dinner and breaking the bubble and breaking the policies, which admittedly baseball has been clamping down on more and more and more to try and prevent the spread of COVID. It hasn't worked. We'll get to that in a bit. But they broke the rules. They went out anyway against team orders. And Terry Francona, who I respect as a manager, even with the Red Sox, is a very good manager, was like, you guys broke the team trust. You guys jeopardized everyone in the locker room. Everyone. Now, fortunately, they did not get COVID. They did not spread COVID. But they're off the team until further notice. And also for the sake of Clevinger, who would have been a free agent at the end of this year, now, because of being sent down to the site, chances are he will not get credit for this as a year played in the major leagues. So not only has he screwed his team, but he's also screwed himself possibly out of a major payday for at least one more year. And he's probably also, again, hurt the Indians from possibly making the playoffs because these are two of the major arms in their organization. And both these guys, morons, have fun down at the alternate site playing meaningless games.
This is what I'm going to say. There's two sides to blame for this. One is it is becoming increasingly clear that you cannot trust these athletes with the severity of what's going on in the world right now.
Yep.
All right. The NHL and the NBA has bubbled their players. They are not allowed to leave the site at all, and there are measures in place to make sure that they do not leave the site on their own volition. Obviously, you can leave. They're not slaves. Okay. And you know what? They told their players. The players agreed to it. They all got in, and they're doing it together, and there's 0 cases. 0.
Yep.
Baseball players apparently cannot seem to handle this understanding. They do not live on the same planet or reality as we do.
Yep.
They live on a different set of rules for some reason, and they can't even follow their own rules. Yep. So it's disgusting to me that they can't dedicate a few months to this league, number one. Number two, blame the MLB 100% as well. They're accountable for this. They did not plan for this.
Yeah.
They do not even know their own players, clearly.
Yeah.
Okay, so I blame them. It's great that they're clamping down now more. This should never have started. This has been just half-assed from the start and continues. That's why we made this segment. What did baseball screw up this week? Because it is every week, in my opinion, getting worse. And
Yeah.
I'm hoping that this does bottom out and bounce back up because I have lost complete interest in that sport with what's going on. And here's the sad part. We're not even done with this segment yet.
Oh, yeah, no, we've got a lot more coming, folks. I mean, like, again, moving on, I mean, so speaking of the Reds, going back a little bit, the Reds, fortunately, although they had to cancel 3 games against the Pirates, fortunately, their outbreak was contained. It was only down to the one player, so the one player has been isolated. Not the rest of the team has come back fine. They're clean. They're positive. So they've they've gone back and picking things up. But the Mets are now the latest outbreak, which, surprise, surprise, you knew at some point the Mets were going to get this. They just recently came back from Florida, which, of course, is still one of the hot, fortunately, this is good news. The CDC came out today and said we are starting to see the curve come down again. People are listening with the masks. We are starting to finally catch up to the rest of the world and starting to get this under control.
Well,
that's not a sign to let up.
This
but
was just wave 2. Wave 3 is usually the final wave.
Right. So it's like don't let up. But we are finally starting to see things calm down again. But one place where it's not coming down is Florida. The Mets went to Florida to play the Marlins, and all the Mets got sick. What else is new?
How did they get sick? I thought they couldn't go out.
Which, by the way, again, also the NBA is also in Florida, but they're in a bubble. But the Mets got sick. What else is new? The worst team in baseball, not record-wise, but in terms of an organization, top-down, an absolute dumpster fire in Queens, much like their airport.
Until A-Rod and J-Lo buy them, right? That's going to make it better.
Oh, God, I hate the Mets. Not even as a Yankee fan, but just in terms of as a baseball fan. They are a disgusting franchise.
Keep in mind, I'm a Phillies fan. Ray has less reason to not like this team than I do.
Yeah, no, the Yankees always beat the Mets. We have the 2000 World Series against them. Everything's fine. The Mets are nothing. They're an afterthought. They're gum on the bottom of our shoe in New York. They're nothing.
So remember, Mets fans, this is Ray Carcillo. You can tweet to him at Ray Carcillo.
But the thing is that now, of course, there was supposed to be the Subway Series this weekend. It got canceled. Yankees haven't played now. Again, another series for the Yankees as another opponent of theirs got COVID. It's just absolutely a joke.
Is a joke.
It's absolutely horrendous. And it just and speaking of jokes in baseball, moving on now. Oh gosh. So, Fernando Tatis Jr., one of the superstars, one of the few bright spots this season. Kid is an MVP caliber player. Last I checked, was leading the league in home runs. The Padres were up 10-3 against the Rangers late in the game. I think it was the 7th inning. Game is not. Look, I've seen crazier comebacks in baseball. I've seen the Yankees pull them off. I've seen teams come back against the Yankees. Yeah, no, exactly. So it's a 3-0 pitch. The bases are loaded. And I don't know about this rule. But Texas claims there's an unwritten rule that you take there. Well, I'm sorry, but you know what? If you get the green light from your manager, as the Padres manager came out, he's like, in that situation, most of our guys always have the green light on 3-0. Tatis destroyed a home run, made it 14-3, a grand slam. One of the greatest moments you can have in baseball is to hit a grand slam. And the Texas Rangers manager, Woodward's like, we shouldn't have done that. That's an unwritten rule. He broke the unwritten rule.
His own bench gave him hell for it, too.
Yeah, no, it's a joke. Good. Tatis apologized because he's a good kid. He really does seem like a legit good kid. But then he also shows that how much he didn't like. He had to apologize. He felt like he apologized. Those other stuff. He then stole third up by 4 late in the game against the Rangers in one of the most incredible slides you'll ever see. Honestly, go back and look at that replay too, just to stick it to them. Because honestly, Texas, look, just because you suck this year, just because you opened up your brand new stadium to no fans, which is honestly actually a shame. But don't take it out on a guy for literally single-handedly destroying your ball club. Play better. Don't be down by 7. Don't load the bases because your pitcher can't throw a strike, and then he throws a meatball to one of the best hitters in the game, and you're like, why did he do that? Why does he do that to us?
I'm gonna advise you to take a sip of your tea real quick. I'm going to take a coach's approach to this. So here's the deal. So much to unravel here. Number 1, unwritten rules. There should never be an unwritten rule when it comes to the scoring of a game.
Nope.
Or how to score. The unwritten rules do not apply to the score. Unless, and this is what I'm saying, if you're up 5-0 with 2 minutes left in a hockey game, that's the time when an unwritten rule comes in. Maybe. Okay, if you're up 15 points in a basketball game with less than 15 seconds left, maybe you don't shoot, you let the shot clock run out, okay, because it's still a play towards winning. In baseball, when a game's not over, there should be no unwritten rule about the score.
Nope.
None. Because in baseball, you can come back when it's bottom of the ninth with 2 outs and 2 strikes. You can still technically come back. Baseball is not like basketball and hockey.
Because there's no time. There's no time.
Okay. Same thing in football. It's like taking a knee, right? Like that's an unwritten rule. Okay.
Yeah.
There should not be a rule that has to do with the overall scoring of a game when there's a chance for another team to come back. They come into play when the team has no chance of coming back, which was not the case here.
Yep.
Second of all, unwritten rules tend to be things like in hockey. Okay, if I'm fighting a guy and I know I have broken his right side of his face, which has happened, I've broken his ocular bone, you do not punch him there again.
Yeah.
Okay, and the player knows this. And there have been recorded conversations of players. You hear one guy saying, "Hey, are you all right?" during the fight, and the guy goes, "I'm fine, just don't hit my left eye," and he doesn't.
Yeah.
Okay, or you do not hit a guy from behind or hit a guy when he's down. Okay, like those are unwritten rules.
Well, even in baseball, don't ever throw at a guy's head when you're getting retaliation. Like
this is one of the dumbest movies. We talked before about like what's soft and how people get upset about people saying things. This is soft.
Yeah.
This is soft. As Ray said, do not give up 7 runs. Nod your head to the kid, who is, by the way, fighting for contracts in millions of dollars, and he has a brand that he's trying to build, and he's trying to win the home run race.
Yeah.
No offense, but screw you to anyone that's giving this kid a hard time for playing the game.
Yeah.
That's soft.
Yep.
That is soft.
Yep.
Going for the kill. Give me a break. And the only positive about this, first off, the only thing that kid did wrong was apologize. That's number one.
Yeah.
All right? The only positive of this is that the general baseball world, including athletes from other sports, athletes in baseball, and fans, all seem to agree that that is one of the dumbest arguments ever put forward in baseball. I'm going to say this about baseball, Ray, that baseball is like drunk right now. That's how I look at it. Like, you know that you go home baseball, you're drunk. Mm-hmm. This is the thing about being drunk or wasted. It doesn't put bad ideas in your head. Okay? Yep. Like everybody says, well, I was drunk and I said a derogatory term because I was drunk. Or I said something racist because I was drunk. Being drunk, the beer, the alcohol doesn't put those thoughts in your head. It draws them out.
Exactly. Just brings them to the forefront.
Right. This pandemic is outing baseball in all of the problems that it has.
Yep.
There are a lot of problems in this sport that have been hidden. There's a lot of problems with the culture of baseball that are now coming to the forefront, keeping in mind that we started this season knowing that a team had cheated to win the World Series.
And wasn't punished for it.
And
well, the organization was punished, but the players weren't.
That's where we started.
Yeah.
This sport better wake up and get itself together because they are in severe danger of really starting to lose a lot of flack and a lot of faith from people. And it's already happened. I have almost zero interest in watching. I would rather watch Ray stream his MLB 20. I'm not kidding. I'm not trying to be funny. It's more enjoyable for me because at least it's governed by laws and unwritten rules that make sense. And there's a hell of a play-by-play announcer on there. Okay? But I'm serious. This is bringing out, if you're a baseball fan and you want to defend baseball, this is bringing out everything that's wrong with your sport.
Yeah.
There's a sick culture. There are players who think they live outside the rules. The rules need to be changed, clearly. And your leadership flat out sucks. This is one of the worst run things I've ever seen. And here's the thing. It's only getting more and more highlighted as the as the NBA and the NHL continue to thrive under this scenario.
Yeah, I mean, and speaking of and our last baseball story, we're still not done, folks. Again, our terrible Commissioner Manfred, or as Trevor Bauer, starting pitcher for the Reds, goes back to Cincinnati now. Likes to call him Bobby. Rob Manfred. So this was actually a good thing that the baseball did at the beginning of the season, similar to what the NFL did, which is they were like you could customize your cleats however you want to be a form of self-expression. Baseball was no longer going to fine people for it not being part of the uniform anymore. So Trevor Bauer, who has been a very vocal member of the Baseball Players Association and all this, and obviously for players' rights and everything, and rightfully so. And he's a character. He's definitely a character. He's a guy who when he got frustrated against the Royals last year when he played for the Indians, took the ball and just threw it over the center field wall. Right? He's a character, right? And he's a good baseball player, and I think he's actually very good for the game in a time when we really need something. So he decided to have cleats made. One says on the side, "Free Joe Kelly," and the other is Joe Kelly's picture of him sticking his tongue out at Carlos Correa. And it's hysterical, which, by the way, I think he's now auctioning them off for charity because, again, he's a good guy. Because basically, he tweeted it out saying what he was doing. An hour later, Manfred came down. He's like, "I've already alerted the umpires. If you actually wear these cleats during today's game, you will be ejected. You will then be suspended by the league, and you will be fined." Because obviously this is him voicing his displeasure at a league decision to suspend Joe Kelly, which, by the way, last I checked, I do believe Joe Kelly's suspension was lessened, I think, in arbitration from 8 games it originally was. But still, absolutely ridiculous. Again, this shows that the league is not self-aware. It doesn't know how to make fun of itself. It takes itself way too seriously. And all it is it's pushing the fans away. It's pushing the players away. This is why guys are opting out left, and part of the reason why guys are opting out left and right now too, even though the season is now, almost halfway done. Like, people are sick of this garbage, and they're sick of Rob Manfred, who is easily the worst commissioner, not just in the history of, not just in current sports, but in probably the history of sports. He is a wuss. He does not care about the game. He is just a lawyer who cares about the bottom line. He's right up there with the jerk agent who tweeted out that photo of Fleury. He cares about nothing but himself and not about the game or the players or the teams. And I hope that Manfred is removed from this position as quickly as possible, because I'm sick of it. I am sick of him. I'm sick of this.
Yeah, Ray, I take a little bit more practical approach to it, but I agree with you that he needs to be removed. You have not shown to be able to do the duties of commissioner to operate in the needs and necessity of baseball.
Nope.
If anything, there's a lack of leadership, and I don't see a rebound scenario.
No.
There's two, and then to put the onus on a player, look. Here's the deal. You can't give players a form of self-expression and then say, but only these messages. That's not self-expression. That's your expression. All right? Not to mention they screwed up with the Joe Kelly thing. And you know what the funny part about it was, Ray? If he didn't say anything, it would have been laughed about for 24 hours and gone.
Yep.
And now we're talking about it.
We're still talking about it. Yep.
Right. So it's like just a complete lack of awareness. We talked about them being out of touch prior to the season. Again, they are losing me really, really fast. And it's not just because the Phillies are not great. Okay, I swear. All right, I swear to you. I just have whoever wins this year, there's no way I can look at them, even if the playoffs are great, as that's a normal champion. Whoever wins the NHL playoffs, the NBA playoffs, we're all looking at that champion like, yeah, that was totally fair. All right, that was definitely legit. Integrity is there. It was probably harder to win. Right? Baseball, I can't say that because there's a number of teams now that Phillies are a good example that should have been good this year, but there's so many distractions. And you can say, they have to overcome that. Sure, something's wrong here. Something's wrong here, and baseball needs a change. And it's upsetting to me. If you're a big baseball fan, you disagree, I want to know why. I want you to comment. I want you to let us know what it is about baseball you think they're doing well this year. But I don't think I'm going to hear from anybody.
No, neither do I. So that brings us now. That's it. Does it for our sports section. That brings us now to our
mashup.
Yes, a mashup. I actually came up with this one this week. For once,
a blind squirrel finds a nut once in a while, but
a broken clock is right twice a day. Yes, even I can come up with a mashup at some point.
Or a metaphor. That's fine.
There you go. Yeah. But so this week's mashup, we talked a lot about. So we talked about some quote unquote, I guess, rule breakers, I guess, in baseball. But we've also talked about the Suicide Squad, and so they are the classic rule breakers in DC, because a lot of them are villains who are trying to reform or forced to reform as part of Task Force X. So our question this week is, which athletes would make up a good Suicide Squad. And I have a few, Lee, but if you want to go first, I'll let you go first.
Well, Ray, I have detailed notes on this from my son's writing pad for phonetics. I have one from the 4 major sports. So
Nice.
I'll actually let you pick the sport, and I'll give you mine from that, and we'll go back.
All right, give me baseball first.
Baseball. Okay, so first I thought John Rocker, but then I was like, I don't like that guy, so screw him. And this is going to be a controversial pick, but Babe Ruth.
Ooh.
Okay, and here's why. And everybody's like, well, he's not a bad guy. Well, he's not quite a good guy either.
Yeah.
All right, this is a guy that could be on the Suicide Squad. I mean, like, he can go both ways. He's not exactly the Superman of the Justice League here, right?
Right.
He's kind of goes at his own belly. He's done a lot of things that were questionable. I think he fits here. I think Babe
Black
Ruth
Adam.
would be my pick. Yeah, that's exactly. That's kind of how I look at it. So
Yeah.
Babe Ruth is actually my pick. Popular name, but probably not the first name people think of for this.
Okay, for my baseball pick for our Suicide Squad, Jose Canseco.
Damn it, that's good. Damn it, that's a very good pick. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. I
Thank
can see him on this team easily. But maybe he's one of the guys that gets killed because he talks too much.
Yeah, he runs his mouth way too much.
Yeah,
his Twitter account is ridiculous. But yeah, no, it.
All right.
Yeah. So all right. So now let's go football.
Football. I mean, the obvious modern pick is Antonio Brown.
Right.
All right, because he can't run because his feet got frozen. So maybe
That's
his
his
power.
superpower. His feet are made of ice.
Yeah, I mean, I could go back and I mean, if Antonio Brown's my pick. I think that's my pick. I mean, Boz is the other one.
That's a
You know
good
what I
one.
mean?
That's one
Yeah.
for me. I know I go to him a lot typically whenever we need a bad boy in the NFL, but I go with Lawrence Taylor.
Yeah, that would work. That would.
You know, I
that.
think he'd be like just coked out of his mind, just running through walls. I think that.
It's
funny.
Brings
'cause
me to the
it's
next
true.
point, children. Don't
Yes.
smoke crack.
Yeah, exactly.
But Boz or Antonio Brown's obvious. I mean, Antonio Brown needs a break, so I'm giving him one.
nice. There you go.
Next
I
sport,
like
we got
that
two
one.
sports. I think one of these we're going to agree on, but yeah.
Okay. All right. Go with. We're gonna go basketball first.
Yeah, I think we're both going to have the same one on this one. But, I mean, there's only one player here. I mean, okay, I shouldn't say that. There's lots of guys. Yeah, I mean, you can think of like Ron Artest or Meta World Peace. I mean, there's a lot of guys. But it's Dennis Rodman. I mean, it's Dennis Rodman.
Yeah.
I mean, he's the Harley Quinn
Yeah.
of this group.
Yeah. There's actually a
know,
few from basketball.
yeah.
I mean, definitely Rodman is up there for sure.
He's the top. He's got to be like.
He's got to be number one. But I was
there's-
also.
Yeah. There's an echelon here. He's by himself. But then, there are
because
other
even that, you go back to those bad boy Pistons, right? You could go
Sure.
with Isaiah too, right,
Yeah.
from that team. You could also go with Charles Oakley when he was with the Knicks. But I
Rodman
think
was on that team too.
Well, the Pistons, yeah, he was with the
Yeah,
Pistons, yeah, the bad boys. But yeah, no, Rodman, I think, yeah, Rodman is probably the
He's
guy.
Harley
like
Quinn.
Yeah, I was
And
gonna say, I
he
love
would
that analogy that
appreciate
he's
that.
Harley
He
Quinn.
would
Yeah.
appreciate that I'm saying that.
Yeah, I think he would like that. I think I like that a lot.
Yeah.
I think that's definitely a good pick. I think that's definitely a better pick. I had Oakley, but definitely Rodman makes so much more
it's-
sense than Oakley.
Yeah.
Like I didn't think of
Yeah,
it.
I mean,
Like
just if you look at his antics from the '90s, it has to be him.
yeah, no, for sure. And then so finally hockey now. What's your pick for hockey?
Well, okay, modern players, it would probably be Brad Marchand. Okay, but I don't think he's actually a bad guy. I think he's just
a
annoying.
weird guy.
I
Yeah.
mean, it's got to be Sean Avery. I mean, it's got to be.
That's a
He
good one.
fits. He fits the Suicide Squad thing because he's so dang annoying.
He's like Captain Boomerang. Yeah,
Exactly. I mean,
Yeah.
and it also like if I said Antonio Brown, Dennis Rodman, Babe Ruth, and Sean Avery, right?
Yeah.
That just kind of makes sense to me.
Yeah.
I could see him in there.
That's a good one. I was thinking Ty Domi.
Yeah, that's like another good one. Yeah,
You know, that's like I mean, obviously he fought a lot more. He wasn't as annoying as much. He was kind of like a little bit more of an enforcer. Not even an enforcer. He wasn't really big enough to be an
throw Claude
enforcer.
Lemieux in there too. The thing is,
Yeah.
like Domi was a hero a lot of the times in an unsung way.
Yeah.
Like, he wasn't a bad guy. Like Avery was just kind of a bad guy.
Yeah.
You know, I know
Yeah.
Rangers fans love him, but he's not the most pristine human being in the world. Like Domi's a pretty good human being. You know,
Yeah.
same thing. Claude Lemieux is an okay human being. You know, but
Right.
Avery likes to be the thorn. He said some horrible things. He just totally fits in for me.
What about Bertuzzi?
Bertuzzi's more of like he wasn't a bad guy till he broke Steve Moore's neck. You know what I mean? Like
he made
that's
one
just-
really bad mistake.
Yeah, that's he could fit on there, but he's more of like a redemption story to me.
Yeah.
Like he might be the guy you run into halfway through the game, and it's like, oh, there's Todd Bertuzzi, hi, and then move on. You know,
That's
but
fair.
like I used to like Bertuzzi until that happened. He made a major mistake, and
Oh,
his
yeah.
career, yeah,
Yeah.
you know,
No,
but-
I agree.
yeah, he still doesn't beat Avery for me. That's sorry.
All right. That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah,
That's
and-
good.
although listen, I'll take Babe Ruth on Jose Canseco,
Yeah.
Dennis Rodman,
Yeah.
Right? Who was your football pick again?
Lawrence Taylor.
Lawrence Taylor and Sean Avery. Come on, I'd watch that right now.
that is one
Right?
heck of a Suicide Squad. I think we've got a good team here, folks.
I think we do too. We combine them together. This is what I'll say to everybody. Like, we want to know your picks. Who would be your Suicide Squad? Obviously, when this mashup was first brought to me, first I thought, well, Ray can't come up with a mashup. That's my job. And then I looked at it and I was like, this isn't good enough. This is not a good mashup. Then I thought about it. I started really thinking about it. I was like, if I'm really thinking about it, it's a good mashup. So well done to you, sir. I'm thinking of a good mashup. You know,
once in a while.
But I claim that I still would have came up with something good had I been given the chance. But I will bow the mashup hat to you.
I gave
today.
you a break this week. That's
It's a vacation. Now I'm going to give you more work to do when we're not on the show. There we go. Next week's show is going to be we're going to have a 4-episode, 1 hour each episode show next week. It's going to be called Ray Carcillo's Justice League.
There we go.
The Carcillo cut.
Or the Elias cut. There you go.
Yeah. We're gonna remake episode 71 in 4 separate episodes next week.
Yes.
XLLI 2. On vengeance. I just want to say this one more time because we're not going to get to do it for probably a while. But FanDome.
Yeah, FanDome. Yes.
Just had to get out of the system. Man. Looking at the sound wave. Anyway, love this episode, Ray. I know we're coming up on 2 hours here, but there was a lot to talk about this week.
Yes.
If you have listened to the entire episode or part of it and you're hearing this, I do want to thank you once again because this is a little bit of a longer podcast, and if you're sticking with us, we really appreciate it. And our view counts continually go up week to week to week.
Yeah.
And we want to welcome all the new people, and this is such a great community that we're part of. Even though we run it, we're part of this community.
Yes.
And we really can't wait to see where the show goes. And we do have some humongous things on the horizon coming forward in this year that we can't wait to share with you.
Yes.
That I'm not going to share now, but there are some big things. Another aggressive expansion is coming.
That's right. Back to aggressive expansion mode. Yeah.
Right. So and it's not possible without all of you. Thank you for believing in Ray and I. It means the world to us.
Yeah. No, I mirror what Lee said. I echo his comments, and I really want to appreciate everybody who's tuning in, whether it's on iTunes or Spotify or Apple Podcasts. My apologies. Spotify, SoundCloud, or wherever else you can hear us. You head to geekswholikesports.com and you get us through there. We really appreciate it. We appreciate the community. We appreciate you guys tuning in every week. And and again, another big episode from us. We are going to have another big episode next week, hopefully. But for Lee, I'm Ray. This has been episode 71 of Geeks Who Like Sports. Thanks for listening, everybody. We will see you again next week with more Geeks Who Like Sports. Good night, everyone.